Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever it is in the world that you may be. It's another edition of your favorite late night NBA postgame talk show. It's Radio Roulette. It's been a week off, but I'm back. As much as I always claim, burned out, I'm gonna leave. Find myself where all roads lead, back to me. Anything to talk about? Anything going on that is worth discussing? Because boy, has it been a 24 to 48 hours in the NBA. You guys know the drill by now. And if you don't, if this is your first time in here, welcome. I'm Rob Perez, Worldwide Wob, your host. Be here all night taking your calls. As always, I'm going to start off the show with a couple of words at the very top, some housekeeping items, and then I'm going to ask you guys to request to speak if there's something specific you want to talk about. And boy, are there a lot of topics. I prefer almost doing these shows on a night like tonight that we didn't have LeBron versus Steph, because that's what everyone would have wanted to talk about in the moment. If we would have done that after the game tonight, it's Sunday. Some of you are trying to avoid the Sunday scaries by being in here, and my goal is to help you get to sleep with ease. If you're sleeping or if you're just waking up and it's Monday in a different part of the world, well, welcome in. You missed some games today. I don't even know how I want to start. Well, you know what? Let's talk about the show real quick. As you guys know, you're using Twitter Spaces here. As I've alluded to a couple of times, starting this Thursday, the show is going to be moving to a separate platform. We're going to be sticking on YouTube. We'll be just, if you're over here on the YouTube, we're over on Underdog NBA's YouTube channel for those of you that are in here right now in Twitter Spaces. And I'm streaming. There's comments. There's people chatting about what you guys are talking about. So I would encourage you to come on over and use that stream if you want to be a part of the community that's discussing what's going on with the show specifically. But for the live audio portion of it, starting this Thursday, once again, I will update you all exactly where that is, but there will be a new home for Radio Roulette. But that's not why you guys are here. Once again, Underdog NBA, that's where the after party will be as well. And by the way, YouTube, if you can hear me, I know you can hear me. There will be no after party unless the show gets to at least 100 likes, because I'm told likes are what drive YouTube algorithms. So there will be no after party unless we get to 100 likes. Just throwing that out there, just so you know. I don't want to have to beg. I only want to have to ask once, so thank you. All right, well, let's dive into it because I know this is what you guys want to talk about. I'll just say a couple words about the Knicks. I know no one wants to talk about the Knicks, but since I'm a fan, and the Knicks finally, for the first time this season, as you may have just seen in the video I put out, I can't believe it just took until March 6th. Knicks win 116-93. I'm going to go through all the games that occurred today, and then I'll start taking your calls. 116-93 Knicks. RJ Barrett, 24-9-4, not bad. But let me tell you, for it to take this long to see Cam Reddish, Jericho Sims, and Deuce McBride get extended run alongside Emmanuel Quickley, it's a completely different team. It's a different vibe. There's different energy, and there's a purpose watching these guys play. I understand the veterans, you would want them out there if this was a playoff series, but the Knicks are nowhere close to that. You're building towards the future, and you got a limited amount of time here to let these guys go out and get some run against playoff teams, to figure it out and see who you want in the trenches with you moving forward. And this was the first time all season that the Knicks and our fans finally got it. And to watch Cam flourish and not get pulled after 3 minutes. These are very simple, usually if someone is that hot, you don't take them out. You know how many times Thibodeau has taken out the young guys when the lead starts to evaporate? The Knicks have lost 3 games that they've been up by more than 20 points in this season. It's because whenever shit hits the fan, he'll panic and put in Evan Fournier and Alec Burks, and then we know what happens from there. But what a relief to have someone that can create their own offense, and to see someone like Deuce McBride play 15 minutes and go 25-0. The Knicks were, I think 25-0 was that final number in which They held the Clippers scoreless. Deuce McBride had 1 rebound in 15 minutes. No other stat, just 1 rebound before he made his first shot. Yet he's still a plus 30. How does that happen? How does someone do a Tony Snell? How does someone pull a Tony Snell and go plus 35? Because when you have a backcourt that can play defense, it's amazing what it can unveil itself and unravel. It's just very simple and obvious things. And that it took this long is just so discouraging. And just, you know what, we're just going to move on because the Knicks were awesome tonight. It's the first time I had fun watching them. And I hope Knicks fans out there feel the same way. Okay, there's other games that you want to talk about. I'll take Knicks calls if you want to talk Knicks in a little bit, but I know the majority of this chat does not because of what we witnessed in Denver tonight as well. But first game of the day is the game that I need to lead off the show with, the official lead off of the show. Celtics 126, Brooklyn 120. The story here should be the Celtics are now 12 games over 500. There was a point that even somewhat recently, I've got Boston Celtics callers demanding that they trade Jaylen Brown, break up the Jays. And my stance was always when you have talent assembled like that on a team, young talent, you have to go through the growing pains. You never separate when you have two weapons like that. It's nice to see that kind of, but it hasn't been because of those two. Jayson Tatum's always been awesome. He's always been able to drop 50 points. But it's been the defense, which is now, I think, past Golden State. Is it the second best defense technically, efficiency-wise in the NBA? Probably behind Phoenix would be my guess. But they're up there. I think after today, they did pass Golden State. That's another story. But it's been the Boston Celtics defense. And we've always been asking if Robert Williams either gets hurt, he gets COVID, or he gets 6 fouls, who's going to come in to spell him? And granted, they did pick up Daniel Tice off the waiver, or they made a trade for him at the deadline. But now that they've been able to run these lineups with Al Horford and Robert Williams III out there at the same time, their whole undersized reputation has ceased to exist. And it works, not because the same way that Jared Allen and Evan Mobley or Jackson Hayes and Jonas Valanciunas work together. It's because Al Horford can knock down those corner threes. Granted, I know Evan Mobley can take some of them. Jackson Hayes has been adding it to his repertoire as well. But if Al Horford can spread the floor on offense, there is plenty of room for the Jays to operate. Then you add Marcus Smart and Jaylen. You got 4 bona fide defenders out there, and that's what you're attributing this Boston success to. How many times did they just try and rely on the Jays, their talent, to get them to the finish line at the beginning of this season? Because they weren't playing any defense, they weren't running any offense, and they just kind of said, please save us, SOS. And they were just having those guys throw buoys out. Not anymore. Now it's a complete team. And now that they got size, how you expose the Boston Celtics is not a thing anymore. The bigger story here is the Brooklyn Nets, who have now, assuming that the Atlanta Hawks defeat the Detroit Pistons tomorrow night. It's in Detroit, and Detroit's been playing well, so it's not certain. But if the Atlanta Hawks defeat the Pistons, the Brooklyn Nets are going to fall to 10th in the Eastern Conference. That is the cutoff line for missing the play-in tournament, as we know. And they will have a pad on the Washington Wizards, who are currently in 11th. But none of that honestly matters to me. None of it matters. Because they have too much talent. They're not going to miss the playoffs. They're not going to miss the play-in tournament. Not with that team, unless Kyrie or KD get hurt again. Even with Kyrie not able to play at home. Here's why I'm concerned, and I'm on DEFCON 2. I'm not DEFCON 1, but I'm on DEFCON 2 after today with the Brooklyn Nets, and let me explain why. It has nothing to do with their talent. When you have Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and ultimately Ben Simmons, and even Patty Mills, Seth Curry, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Blake Griffin, this team is still, honestly, on paper at least, probably the most talented team in the Eastern Conference, let alone the NBA. I don't even care about having that conversation or whether you agree or disagree, because it's a moot point. But they have, now that they're under 500, and there's only 17 games remaining in the NBA season campaign. It's a math equation, guys. They're going to have to play. Because I assume they don't want to play in the play-in tournament. Whether they fit, the perfect case in the play-in tournament is they finish 8th because then Kyrie can play. But I imagine they don't want to do that. Because you know what the play-in tournament requires is you probably traveling, especially if you're the 8th seed, traveling to play a game, and then 24 hours later, you got to go play the 1 or 2 seed in your conference, which is going to be the Miami Heat, the Philadelphia 76ers, or the Milwaukee Bucks. The reason for me telling you guys all this is that Brooklyn has now signed up for a war of attrition, starting right now. Because every game for the remainder of this season, they're going to win a majority of them. I assume Ben Simmons is going to come back at some point. I'm not doubting Brooklyn Nets' talent or ceiling potential. But what they have signed up for now is a war of attrition. That every single one of these 17 games is going to require 100% from Kevin Durant, who just recently came back from an injury. So every night is going to be playoff intensity from your team's best player, most important player. That on March 6th forward, you're going to have to treat every single one of these games like it's life or death. That's asking a lot for a guy with a CVS receipt long of lower body injuries. Ben Simmons won't come back and play the 76ers, so we have to wait until that 76ers game to even get him into the lineup to build chemistry in 10 games with these guys? We just expect them to snap fingers and make it happen right there on the spot? Kyrie and KD have played 3 games together all year. War of attrition. So let's say Brooklyn does their thing. They win games. They roll off some wins here, even though their schedule's still pretty tough moving forward. They roll off wins. They get the 8 seed or the 9 seed. But then what? Once again, you're playing Philadelphia or Miami in the first round. The East is so stacked that you're going to go through war again in the first round. All right, you're the Brooklyn Nets. You have Hall of Famers on your team, multiple of them. Let's say you upset the 1 seed Miami Heat, move on. Congratulations. Now you get to go play world champion Milwaukee. And that's only the semifinals. You're telling me that this team is going to have to grind this hard for this long, and none of those guys are going to get hurt? I mean, Steve Nash just had COVID and was in protocols for a week. We're assuming that everything is going to go smoothly, just made up a word there, smoothly. If you press pause in NBA 2K, you scroll down the settings and you turn off injuries, you turn off COVID, you turn off extracurriculars, you turn off Kyrie moving to North Dakota. All of those things. Best case scenario is you have Kyrie and KD available now through the time that the playoffs end. It's still going to require Brooklyn to be playing playoff basketball for longer than anyone that has a chance of winning the championship. And I worry about their ability to sustain that and the longevity of that fact. I can't even judge the Brooklyn Nets. We haven't seen them at full strength once this year. Consider the big 3 with Harden, right? But Ben Simmons, we haven't even seen them play. Do you know who they're going to have to play against just in the play-in tournament? They're going to have to beat the Atlanta Hawks potentially. The team that almost went to the finals just to advance and not get eliminated in the play-in tournament. It's a lot to ask. And you would figure NBA regular season doesn't matter. How many times have we heard that from people? Like, ultimately, we know who's going to end up being in the finals. Matters now, doesn't it? Oops. If they don't make the playoffs, and we have the 2, and the Lakers don't either, and we have the 2 odds-on favorites before the season started to win the NBA championship, not even make the playoffs, with the combined amount of Hall of Famers that they have on their team. It would be unprecedented. It has to be. But how do you watch that game today in Boston, slugging it out with the Celtics, win or lose, and think that the Nets can perform at that level, knowing the players that they have on this team and how injured they get, and when Kyrie goes cuckoo, or when COVID gets into the locker room, and assume that everything is going to be optimal. It's just not. And if one of those guys goes down, they're done. They have no more room to afford to lose anymore. And for us to be saying that in the first week of March is a testament to the value of the NBA regular season mattering. And they probably assumed at the beginning of the year that this Eastern Conference will be the same East, that all you need to do is just get the 6 or the 7 and we'll deal with, or the 5. We just need to get in, right? And we'll deal with it. There's no one in the East as good as us. The East is as stacked as I've ever seen since the 90s. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. Bucks 132, Suns 122. Khris Middleton has the game. Was it a season high today, I think, comment section? Again, if you're not over here on Underdog NBA, they like to finish my sentences for me sometimes, so thank you. I believe it was a season high, 44-8-5 from Khris Middleton. The Bucks are... The reason why we don't talk about the Bucks is because we know exactly what they are. They're reigning champions with the best player. And even when Giannis has an off night, he's my defensive player of the year. Okay? When you watch him hit that block on campaign at the rim in the fourth quarter, chase down block. I mean, this is probably the best team still in the league until proven otherwise. So that's why we don't pay them any attention. But you got Milwaukee Bucks fans stomping their feet looking for respect and shit. Like us, the silence is the respect. So spare me on Twitter. I was impressed watching the Suns because with no Cam Johnson, no Devin Booker, no Chris Paul, once again, this team is competing with what I just said is probably the best team in the NBA. All the way to the wire. The comeback against the Knicks. They continue to impress. They're 51-13 for a reason. And they haven't been healthy all year. Granted, no one has either. But whether it's Ayton putting up 38-2 today, they got Mikal Bridges, and they just got guys that step in. They feel like the assembly line that we thought the Warriors were going to be at the beginning of the season. It's just next man up. Very much a Patriots mentality. It drives me nuts, but that's just a well-coached team from 1 through 15. And to see them compete on days that they should just pick, they could just pick a day ending in Y and say, you know what, we're going to take tonight off. We've earned it. We got a 7-game lead with 17 to go. At some point, you would figure the Suns just take a night off. They don't. Even in a loss. They still almost pulled this shit off on national television, on the world champs' home floor tonight. Impressive loss if there's ever such a thing. Wizards 133, Pacers 123. I mean, I'm petty, so I'm not going to say it, but the new trade piece for the Wizards looked good today. Wizards keep winning games, and the Brooklyn Nets start hearing footsteps. We'll be having a conversation. Rockets 123, Grizzlies 112. Christian Wood outplays Ja Morant. Jalen Green outplays. By the way, if you haven't paid attention to Jalen Green, he caught some flack there in the middle of the year after a hot start. People saying he's overrated, shouldn't have been the number 2 pick, whatever you saw in the comments there with those SpongeBob memes attached. I mean, this guy right now is shooting. I don't have numbers in front of me, but I know you start looking at the way he's performing in these games, how efficient he's been now. The volume had always been there. So the points scored had been there because he just took 25 shots between him and Kevin Porter Jr. But to watch him go out there now and creating his own opportunities, and now that he's starting to see some shots go in, and he starts jawing a little bit, this is the Jalen Green that not only the city of Houston, but all NBA fans expected. It has to be the highest ceiling of any player. This, even Evan Mobley included, it just feels like Jalen Green has unlimited talent. And there's a glimmer of it, glimmer of hope. And for him to close the game the way that he did tonight, just all of those points that he scored are just like, there's no, Brandon Clark's playing perfect defense, and it just didn't matter. How many players in the NBA can we say that about? Say when it's either Kawhi or KD or even Giannis, like you can't do anything there. There was a couple moments tonight where no one on the Grizzlies could do anything to stop Jalen Green. The bounce is there, the swag is there, the leadership is there. You can all see it all happening. It's just nice to see him put it all together there in an efficient way. Jazz 116, Thunder 103. Bojan Bogdanovic, I think, hit a franchise high 11 threes. Thunder battled as they always do. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, again, must-see TV, 33, 7, and 8. Jazz win against a very Sam Presti Thunder team. Cavaliers 104, Raptors 96. The Scotty Barnes point guard experiment in a loss. A thrill to watch. He goes 19, 12, and 6. They put him on the ball. No Fred VanVleet. No OG. We knew this Raptors team was already a 7-man rotation. To see the versatility of Scotty Barnes, that, if I'm a Raptor fan, I know you lost, but watching that tonight and seeing his ability to play point in an emergency when there's no one else on the roster, the Raptors just have so many interchangeable parts. You guys know I always value the 1 through 5s. The Herb Joneses of the world. 3 and D that can play any position. And that's all the Raptors are. But the Cavaliers did win this game. Evan Mobley's going to win Rookie of the Year, and you see it why tonight. Jared Allen goes down with what is believed to be a fractured finger on his hand. It's going to keep him out indefinitely, but that is an unconfirmed report. I'll wait until the Cavaliers let us know. But Evan Mobley stepped up because Ed Davis is not up for the task. Oh, my God, that air ball at the free throw line. Jesus Christ. And they're just the Cavs are so snake bitten with injuries this year. Sexton, Rubio, now Allen, yet they're still here. 10 games over 500 with multiple Cavalanches without Jared Allen in the lineup. JB Bickerstaff, applause to you. And ultimately, we're going to finish with Nikola Jokic, who, in my opinion, has separated himself. Every time I've been doing one of these shows with you guys, I've said it changes just based on who's played that night between Embiid and Jokic. And I've been going back and forth for a couple of weeks, but he took an extensive lead tonight. Embiid will have his opportunity, I believe, tomorrow to catch up. But how do you watch that game tonight and not think what we're watching here is the same way that you just know when you're watching Giannis that something special is happening? But it's the complete antithesis of it, right, with Nikola Jokic. He's the balance in the force. If Giannis Antetokounmpo is a chainsaw, which is cutting every tree in front of him down, Jokic is taking out a rusty axe and just chopping away one swing at a time. It's not pretty, it's not sexy, but it's equally as effective. And whether Giannis is the Sith and Jokic is the Jedi or vice versa or whatever your opinions are, it's a thrill to watch someone not have to rely on versatility and athleticism. Granted, Jokic is still very much an athlete, and you see guys grown men bounce off of Jokic like bugs against a windshield on the Autobahn. That's a Wobism, YouTube, by the way. Keep track of that one. Put that on the bingo card. But did you see Jokic swipe that pass at the end of regulation to almost win the game? Jeff Green throws up a random-ass air ball from 5 feet away. The man scored 30 points with 3 rebounds and 3 assists in just the fourth quarter in overtime. And I tweeted this out earlier. But how many times have we seen a stat go viral that says only Wilt Chamberlain has accomplished this? Do you understand if you're the only guy alongside Wilt, on or off the court, another Wobism, what you are witnessing is quite literally historic. Like the numbers, the 46, 12, 11. I think he's the first to do it with 4 blocks. There's nothing these little stat accounts love more than going to Basketball Reference and just typing in stats and what you do is you keep hammering away numbers. You type in 4 steals or the 4 blocks or whatever he had, and you keep processing the numbers to see. You keep knocking it up from 40 to 45 until Jokic is the only one in NBA history to do it. And then you tweet it out and say it's never been done in NBA history before. I'm just waiting for one of those accounts to say Nikola Jokic is the first time 46, 12, 11, 4, and 4 has been done in NBA history. You think? Like, why does it have to be a round number every night with this guy? And the way that the game is played in 2022, there are 20 plus more possessions per game. So, of course, the stats are going to be bigger than the 80s and the 90s. All right? I don't need the stats to tell me what I watched, though. And what we witnessed tonight was a guy that would just dribble in front of a defender that can jump significantly, noticeably higher, whoever was guarding Nikola Jokic, because he can't jump over a credit card sometimes. For him just to stand there, dribble, and shoot a jumper in your face without a care in the world. The way that Jokic closes out possessions with those one-hand clap rebounds, the way that he's been able to protect the rim this past 2 years is the reason why he's going to probably win the MVP again. We take for granted Giannis's just superhuman ability, right? We take for granted Kevin Durant's mid-range, Kawhi's mid-range, their clutchness. I don't want to take for granted Nikola Jokic's ability to make the game look easy. Because Kyrie, he makes the game look hard as hell. Jokic makes it look easy. Like any of us could go out there and do it. None of us can, but he makes it look like and feel like we can. It's relatable content. And it's a pleasure to watch. Just the most fundamentally sound player since Bird, in a way. Whether it's his footwork, creating open shots. It looks like Dirk at times with the unguardable fadeaway off the one leg. His own version of it with the Sombor shuffle. Evolution of the game takes many forms. Usually they're defined by athleticism and above the rim plays like what we're seeing with Ja Morant leading the league in points scored in the paint. Like no point guard should ever be able to do that. Tony Parker was supposed to be the outlier, but the way that Ja does it above the rim, of course, unprecedented. But for Jokic now, amongst these freaks of nature, these aliens of athleticism, for him to perform like this on a team that would probably be out of the play-in tournament completely without him. And it's not that Embiid he's had to play without Ben Simmons this whole year. So I don't make it sound like Jokic team sucks more than Philly's team. It probably does, but I'm not making that an excuse. What I'm saying is the value of Nikola Jokic on this team is worth 20 points. And that's supported by net ratings on and off the court. Let's take some, you guys have waited and heard me chirping long enough. Let's take some calls, shall we? The floor is yours. Now would be the time, if you haven't already, to request to speak. I just ask one thing, that if you request to speak, you're ready to speak. Because if you're requesting to speak and you're not there, it's going to start to make me a little angry, all right? Whatever you want to discuss, and while I spin the wheel, I'm going to pick people randomly, so don't think I'm just letting my friends in. If you're not over here on Underdog NBA's YouTube channel, and you want to participate in the conversation around what these people are about to say. Did I forget about talking about LeBron? And we could talk about that too. His historic performance last night. It's the fourth player, I think, age 37 or older, drops 56 points. Talking about the value of Draymond Green to the defense, by the way. Has the guy ever won an award for not playing? It's just, I love being proven true. The sentiments reign true throughout. Draymond Green is, without a doubt, the most important player on that team, and it has never been this obvious as Golden State's defense spirals down to earth without him. All right, let's go. Enough of me rambling. First up tonight, it's going to be Rami Lavi. Welcome in.
Rob, how you doing?
Not too bad. What's on your mind, my friend?
All right, so a couple of things. First of all, you just mentioned Draymond, so I want to say their offense also is struggling without him because he just sets everything up. But that's on that point. As far as the Knicks, because I'm a Knicks fan also, you started with it, so I'm going to what do you think the solution is? Because, you said they're not playing the young guys. They look like a different team. They have more energy when the young guys are out there, but obviously, Tibbs, that's not his style. I don't want to be the guy who's like, wow, I loved what Tibbs did last year. Now I'm turning on him. But what's the solution? And also, one thing I did want to point out, because I tweeted this out today, and I think this is crazy. Do you realize how much Derrick Rose meant to this team? Over the last 2 years, the Knicks were 40-22 with him and 26-47 without him. That's 18 games over 500 with him and 21 under without him.
I mean, it was never more noticeable than the series against the Atlanta Hawks when the heroism of of Alec Burks and Julius Randle during the regular season was on full display. But when we get to the playoffs and it's a different sport and you're playing in the half court, and then all of a sudden all of those miracles became reality in a way, and not in a good way, Derrick Rose was always the one to save the Knicks at the end of the day.
Think about the end of the game against Boston earlier in the year. I was there. He takes the last shot to give them the lead in overtime or double overtime, whatever it was. Every possession ran through him at the end of the game.
Yeah, so thankfully he's still signed, because until Cam Reddish finally got unleashed tonight, other than RJ Barrett, I haven't seen anyone on this Knicks team able to create offense like Derrick Rose has for the past 2 years. And if I have to give the Knicks franchise any credit, because they do deserve it, they've been awesome at drafting, okay, these past couple of seasons. Let's go through who was on the floor. Now, Cam doesn't count because he wasn't drafted by the Knicks, but between Deuce McBride, second-round pick, Manuel Quickley, end of the first round, Quentin Grimes, end of the first round, Jericho Sims, I believe very end of the second round and or unsigned. I don't know if he was actually drafted. He may have been, but he was at least at the very end of the second round, so he's a non-guaranteed player. Mitchell Robinson, all right? And that's on top of RJ Barrett. The Knicks have Obi Toppin too. I'm still very much an Obi Toppin believer. But for them to continue to find these players, now the Marcus Morris trade, I think, resulted in Emmanuel Quickley. I don't know which pick that was. It was either Dallas's pick or one of them was Quentin Grimes. Ultimately, the Knicks have taken their trades that they've had these veterans and they've spun them into draft picks, and it's worked out. All right, that's been the positive part, but getting them onto the floor is going to be required at some point. And to see them unleashed in a way that is quite literally unleashed, because the moment that they start, the other team comes back, we know what Thibodeau loves to do. So for them to go out there and perform at this level tonight was just a welcome relief that I can't believe that you have to say that should almost be an expectation for a team that's nosediving, that has no championship aspirations, that is going to have the same roster next year and a bunch of veterans who are ultimately going to retire here. Like, don't you want to build for the future? Because that's what you spent these draft picks on and traded away the veterans in the first place. It had made no sense leading up to tonight, and it should have started a lot sooner.
So what's the solution? Again, we know how stubborn Tibbs is. He's going to want to do it his way. Are you on the, hey, fire Tibbs, which we've seen from a lot of Knicks fans, or do you think there's a way that he can finally incorporate these young guys into what they plan on doing?
Yeah, Rami, thank you for the call. As always, I'm going to try and turn you guys over so multiple people get an opportunity to speak. I'm not fired Tibbs because I don't want to live as a prisoner of the moment. This man was coach of the year last year in the same way that George Karl and even Dwayne Casey are coach of the years who ended up getting fired to the following campaign. I don't know if I'm necessarily fired Tibbs, but he needs to get on the same page as the front office, because why are you making moves to build for the future if you're not going to play those guys? Thibodeau is notoriously a veterans first. I play my guys, and the young dudes got to earn minutes. You know how many floaters Emmanuel Quickley had to hit last year for him to get more than 10 minutes? He had the best floater game in the NBA. And it took a half a year to get him as a part of full-time in the rotation. Tibbs still didn't trust him, even when he was going viral for all those floaters he was hitting. And if the Knicks go on a winning streak, you know what he's going to say? He's going to say Cam finally earned his minutes in either practice, in the locker room. And you know what? That may be true because he's in the locker room and I'm not. He knows a lot more about NBA basketball than I do. The only reason why you fire him is if the front office has a plan which Tom Thibodeau is not executing. That's the only way you fire him. Because the front office isn't coaching the team. Tom Thibodeau is. And if the front office says, we need you to play these young guys because we're trying to work on something here for 2 years, and Thibodeau says no, well, you know what? There's like any business out there that any person works at. If you don't have the same vision as your boss or you have different agendas, you're probably going to get fired. Not saying it should happen because of the basketball, but it should happen if the agendas are not the same. Thanks for the call again. Next up, Brianna Leone. Welcome in, Brianna.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
I'm about about to hit the panic mode with the Warriors.
Okay.
Pretty stressed out. I have a question for you. How do you feel about the players nowadays when they are semi-healthy? They're getting ready to come back from an injury, and they never are at the games. They never sit on the bench with the team. They're never at Kawhi, Draymond. I mean, they never at the games. I mean, I don't understand this new, these new NBA players. It seemed like to me, once they get their big contracts, it's like they just do what the hell they want to do. And I don't like that because I feel like, when certain people are key members of the team, that their presence is needed to be there to, boost the morale of the other players. Do you agree with that?
Well, are you speaking about Draymond specifically or
Well,
just in general?
I love Draymond, but he had a birthday party last night while the Warriors were getting their ass kicked by the Lakers. So I felt some type of way. I'm a
All right.
huge Warriors fan.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's fair.
I didn't like seeing that. I went on Instagram and I clicked on his story. He's celebrating his birthday, blowing out fucking candles. And really?
Yeah, if there's one guy that you figure has earned the right to sneak away to a birthday party, it would be him, just because he's still, when he comes back, the leader. But yeah, your point still stands that, there's an expectation that if you're not going to be playing, these guys do need support emotionally. And if you're not there, it's just in the back of everyone's mind that you're not there for whatever reason. So even if you're excused or not, if you miss class, you got to go get the notes, right? And
also, I've been hearing that Poole has, he's kind of salty that Wiggins is starting, and Wiggins isn't playing well right now. And I've heard that he feels like he should be starting instead of Wiggins. And to some degree, I kind of agree with that because I voted for Wiggins every time I voted for All-Star. And now I regret voting for him because he does not play like a fucking All-Star starter. He plays like a regular All-Star, maybe, and so it's like, I feel like it's messed up Poole's rhythm since Clay's come back. And, I'm just feeling some type of way about the Warriors right now, but hopefully they can get it together this week.
Yeah, so let's stay on the Warriors here for a couple of different topics. I'll start with Wiggins. And as someone that has been doing the show for a long time, we have nicknames for Andrew Wiggins. First, it was the walking, breathing B-, because before this all-star run that he had, when you got a B- in school, you come home and you slap that report card on the refrigerator. It's not going to get you yelled at by your parents, but they're also not going to pop the champagne for you either. It's just kind of,
right.
It exists, right? So until this season, Andrew Wiggins had always been the walking B-. So then the name Maple B. Jordan came out for him. We call him Maple B- Jordan. And now I finally declared my trust for that first half of the year when he was running to the All-Star game and he was playing great. I'm like, I think I'm finally there, that Andrew Wiggins is trustable because he's a part of the Warriors system. He had bought into it. But now that those shots have not started to drop, that Draymond has been out and the defense is spiraling, and Draymond's importance, just like that last caller said, it's not just defense, which he's Defensive Player of the Year probably if he was playing, but on offense, for him getting guys open, whether that's Clay, these off-ball screens that he's famous for, the dribble handoffs, even bringing the ball up the floor so that Steph doesn't have to play at the true point guard position. But Draymond's absence has been really felt. And to your point, the fans are even not seeing him at the games, getting embarrassed by the shitty Lakers on national television. It all starts to kind of boil up there. And then the third thing you mentioned was Jordan Poole. So when Clay came back, we were kind of wondering, how is this going to work? Because at the time, the Warriors were still rolling. Draymond hadn't gotten hurt yet. Jordan Poole had struggled to start the year, but we all had seen what he was performing in the preseason, and there were glimpses of, holy shit, this guy could really be the next Splash brother. We were talking about turning this into three siblings here or there for a little bit. But when Clay came back, it wasn't Clay that was affected by Jordan Poole. It's more so been Jordan Poole that has been affected by Clay's presence. And it's not that they don't like each other and they're enemies all of a sudden or rivals. It's just that Jordan Poole's kind of the same. You heard me talking about how Cam Reddish can't stay on the floor for more than 10, 12 minutes because of his coach. Jordan Poole has been exiled to these second units. And if he's not on that night, boy, does he get a quick hook from Steve Kerr. And I'm sure Warriors fans have all sorts of animosity, built up for this guy's rotations for the past couple of years and whatnot, but he's also won all these championships. So you kind of have to trust him and hope that he knows what he's doing with Jordan Poole, because all of that potential feels like it's starting to be wasted with not only him, but now it's contagious and it's spreading to Wiggins.
Yeah, but if Steve Kerr didn't have the talent that he had when they did win, how good of a coach would he be?
Well, you know what? Mark Jackson couldn't pull it off. And granted, that was a lot earlier in Clay and Steph, Draymond's careers, but maybe Kerr had really good timing. It's the Warriors. Like, again, at the beginning of the year, it felt like they were the overwhelming favorites to make the finals. I know they've struggled lately, but when Draymond comes back, I feel like we're going to be back in the camp of, oh shit, it's the Death Star Warriors again. They need, if they get Wiseman, they get Iguodala, and they're missing some really important key parts here.
Pieces all year. Wiseman is like the person that never shows up. Like, I mean, we've been waiting for him like Christmas Day, and he hasn't gotten. I don't understand. He's 20 years old. How long does it take your bones and your body to heal? God damn, come back, please. We need you. Like, we need a center. The Warriors need a freaking center.
They do. Brianna, thank you for the call. It's Kevon Looney has gone above and beyond in his role. He's not a true 7-footer by any means, but holding down the fort. And you know what? There could be worse places to be than third place in struggling. I could hear the struggle in your voice, right? As you can kind of you see what's happening here. As Wiggins regresses, Jordan Poole's not living up to it. Clay's been fine, and Steph's going to do his thing. But at some point here, you know, the playoffs are coming. You want to get back to that form, and I understand it. But it's got to start with the defense, because when the Warriors get out in transition and Steph Curry is trailing the play, they're the best team in the NBA. And when they got Iguodala, they got Draymond Green, they got all these defensive stoppers, even Klay Thompson out there, they create opportunities. They create offense with their defense, despite how brilliant they are in the half court. And they run a system which teams have to prepare completely separate for. They're already great in the half court, but they are the best when their defense is on. Very clearly, it's always been that way. And you have to imagine it will be once the horses get back into the stable. Moving on. Next up, we're going over to, appears to be a Celtics fan, AJ Rose. Talk to me, AJ Rose.
Rob, how you doing, man?
Not too bad.
Nice to talk to you.
Yes, sir.
As somebody who's a proud owner of a Grant Williams jersey, I've been on sort of a victory lap for the last couple months. But I had two questions for you. One involving my Boston Celtics. I hope that's okay.
Sure.
The concept of somebody being the best player on the championship team or being good enough to be the best player on a championship team, we don't really know unless that person's already won a championship. Like with Giannis, would we have said that last year until he did it? I don't know. The question is Jayson Tatum right now good enough to be the best player on a championship team this year for the Celtics?
Well, I'll say yes, because he's flanked by Jaylen Brown. I mean, he's got, on this team, he can be the best player on the Boston Celtics. If he was on the Knicks, no. I don't think he could be the best player on the Knicks to win a championship, but since he's got some help there and he's got a system which is clearly working, he's on the league's best defense, he's certainly talented enough to be the best player on the Boston Celtics to get them to at least the finals, for sure. I could totally see it. And there's just so much firepower over there, and granted, their depth is, you would figure, is a little bit of a problem. I know Grant Williams has been holding it down, and Nesmith and Pritchard, but and the good news is these rotations, they shorten up big time in the playoffs. You don't need 9 deep unless you've got injured guys. That's where the Celtics are going to get exposed, is if Jalen rolls that ankle again, or what if Robert Williams breaks his finger on the backboard? Then what? And that's when the depth is going to become an issue. But if it's these 7, 8 guys that they put out there in this game tonight, they were going punch for punch against the best in the league in Kevin Durant, at least in terms of scoring the basketball. And to watch Jayson Tatum voluntarily, he chose to go shot for shot, fight fire with fire against the best offensive player of our era, okay? That was a choice. Fearless, and it worked, all right? That should be alone on a stage like today. Granted, it's a Sunday afternoon, but everyone got up for this game like it was the playoff series. And how many times have we seen these 50-plus point Jayson Tatum performances to either save the day? There's a different scenario every time. Sometimes they need it because the rest of the team isn't scoring like at the beginning of the year, and they're blowing leads because they're relying too much on Jayson Tatum. But now that we've seen so many different scenarios of Tatum performing well and them working, we've checked the box where you need to stave off a comeback, where you need to go fire with fire against Kevin Durant. Check that box today. What else does he need to prove? Because is there anyone out there that is just giving you buckets like Kevin Durant was this afternoon and Jayson Tatum was able to respond? It doesn't get much more difficult than that last time I checked.
Certainly. certainly. And the final box that you would want Jayson Tatum to check has been his decision making and what he does when he gets people double him off a pick and roll, and both against the Grizzlies in the fourth quarter and against the Nets, just his decision making, play after play after play, was the level that you would want from somebody to hopefully win a championship with.
And even before you ask your next question, this is the balance that we're always going to talk about with these stars. And I'm going to use Joel Embiid as an example because it's been really noticeable with him this season in particular that when you identify that a double team is coming, you have probably 1/100th of a second to the window is open for you to make the correct play. That's either avoid the double team with getting to the rim with a drop step or splitting it, or passing out of it. And he has taken, this is why he's an MVP candidate at this point, and Julius Randle is not. Because if you send a double team over to Julius Randle, he has no clue what the fuck to do with it, and he throws the ball away, right? But Embiid, you cannot double him because he's so smart with the ball now that he always makes the right choice. So for Jayson Tatum to get up into that Embiid stratosphere of stardom and MVPism, they keep sending double teams his way. It's not always going to require Tatum to drop 50 plus points. Granted, he was hitting step back after step back because they were starting to send the doubles there, but he was just nailing shots. And you know what? Good all-star NBA players, they're going to have days where they catch fire. They, have their moment in the sun, and then the next week it doesn't happen again. So what I would love to see, not saying this hasn't happened yet, but if they start sending double teams over to Jayson Tatum next game, and he's not on fire, or he is, but he's still making the correct play anyway by creating opportunities for his teammates, that's where he's going to take the next step into being exactly what you asked about. Can he be the best player on a championship team? Because you can count those guys, by the way, on one or two hands. That's Giannis, that's Kawhi, that's LeBron, that's Steph Curry. Like, there's 10, maybe. And for Jayson Tatum to get onto that second hand, it's not going to hockey stick overnight. It's not going to be a leap. But when you watch shit like today, you start to think it's possible.
Most definitely. As a quick aside before the second question, Durant just makes me laugh and just guffaw more than anybody else in terms of it looking like he is taking a walk in the park while scoring 37 points. And I don't think I think he's the best scorer to ever pick up a basketball. But I
agree.
The second question.
No, I agree.
The second question is about using the Celtics as a vehicle to talk about how to team build, because during the first part of the year, there were many people who were doubting Ime Udoka and wanting to trade Marcus Smart and wanting to trade. Some people even wanted to split up Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But I think what this 2-year experiment with the Celtics is, in that they've disappointed until this last stretch of games, is that it is worth it. And I found myself willing to sink or swim with this because it is more fun as a sports fan to watch a team that has drafted guys and watch those guys develop more than it is to trade for a fantasy team the way a lot of NBA fans want their franchises to trade for stars and win that way. Isn't it worth riding out? For me, it feels worth it to have gone 500 last year and to have started 18-21 this year for this moment, for them to be this good. So, and you can also answer this. How do you want the Knicks to take the same approach? Do you want them to ride it out with these guys that they've drafted? Yeah,
that's the team I fell in love with. I mean, that's the reason why I love the NBA so much and why I've watched it for the past now 30 years of my life, is because I get attached to teams that are built through the draft. I'm a Mets fan. I'm a Knicks. I fell in love with the 90s Knicks. They found John Starks in a grocery store. I'm not exaggerating. They found John Starks in a grocery store and got him into the NBA. It's those, now granted, Patrick Ewing was a superstar at Georgetown, but he was drafted by the Knicks. And for them to feel like your guys, it's always those fan bases of teams. The Warriors are a great example of this. By drafting Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, you get super attached to them. Like you've seen your kids grow. Now, if you're every fan is different. There's no right or wrong answer there. And as I'd be lying if I said the Knicks assembled a super team overnight, that I wouldn't be super emotional about it if they won a championship or feel a different way. But it does feel better, man. It does feel better knowing that you put in the time to see him grow like this and to see the story ultimately have a climax, as opposed to it just being a 30-minute show and that's it, right? There's a story behind it. And yes, I agree with you, because anytime, that's why I don't like the Yankees. This is why I stopped rooting for Manchester City. I started rooting for Manchester City back in the Yaya Toure days, before they brought in the new owners and stuff, because they were the little brother of Manchester, and Man United was the Yankees of the EPL. So I like, just me personally, I always liked those underdogs, whether they were in major cities or not. I like the second team of the city because they traditionally just have better, I feel like being a part of a family more so than just, I'm sitting here wondering, if you're a Yankees fan, or you could maybe attest to this as a Patriots fan, or someone like Duke, or again, even Man United, when you win a championship, it's almost relief. Do you even feel happiness? It's an expectation. I'm a dog chasing cars, and the thrill is always in the chase. And there is a lot of chasing going on when you're drafting these guys, as opposed to just hiring a bunch of mercenaries.
I appreciate you very much, Rob. Thanks for taking the time. You clearly work your tail off, and so you deserve all the flowers that you've been getting, man. Keep up the good work.
AJ, thank you for the time. Moving on. Next up, looks like we have AJ Coleman is the next speaker. Welcome in, AJ.
Well, how's it going, man?
What's good?
Nothing much. Big Celtics fan here. This game today was a lot of fun to watch, and it was a lot of fun because anytime you beat Kyrie Irving after what he did to Boston was a lot of fun. And, you know, Ben Simmons, I think he's the biggest bum in basketball. This dude, when people were comparing him to Jayson Tatum and saying that he was better than Jayson Tatum is just comical to me now.
Well, AJ, before you keep going, did you see Kyrie's quote after the game?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't make sense, though.
I saw all Celtics Twitter saying, you know, but the thing is, nobody wants you back, dude.
Okay, well, I want to read this for everyone that doesn't know that I'm referring to, and I'm scrolling down because I want to make sure I get it right here. Give me 1 second as I try and find this. It's, oh, come on, where are you? I got a vamp, Rob. Oh, there it is. Okay, I found it. Quote. Oh, I'm sorry. The beginning of the tweet here is Kyrie Irving expects to get booed in Boston the rest of his career. Quote, it's like a scorned girlfriend asking for an explanation why I left, but still wanting a text back. That doesn't make sense. Like if she wants an explanation why I left, but still wanting a text back. Aren't those one and the same? Isn't it? But I won't text her back and she wants an explanation why? She doesn't want the text and an explanation. She wants together. The quote makes no sense. It was driving me nuts for like 2 hours.
Yeah, this dude's something else. I mean, I don't even know. I'm just glad that he's not on the Celtics anymore, and he's kind of somebody else's problem. I mean, he's crazy talented, but yeah.
I mean, he is crazy talented, and at the end of the day, you would hope if he was on the floor there for the Nets full time. He's so good that you're willing to put aside the sideshow that is Kyrie Irving because of his talent. But oh my God, whether he has an off night or he's getting the Kyrie sucks chance and you're seeing what he's jawing at, the crown he's dropping these quotes after the game, he's just in the same category for me. It's a much different scale, but there's certain athletes in the world that it's not that I'm in love with them, but I'm absorbed by their talent inside the rings of their respective sports. I think I've alluded to the likes of Floyd Mayweather's and Aaron Rodgers in the past. And granted, Kyrie Irving, these are all separate stories, reasons, and differences. But he's in that category for me that when he's on the court, I'm just engulfed by the talent. And the moment he steps off, you're like, all right. You know, for me, I'm able to separate the two. Some people aren't. They see all of those off the court antics when he's playing. That's fine. There is no right or wrong answer. It just helps me appreciate what I'm watching because some of those moves, that hesitation that he pulled in the fourth quarter to take the lead there, I'm like, oh my fucking God. You know, it's impossible. But at the end of the day, you guys won. So who gives a shit?
Yeah, I mean, when he's on the court, it's like one of those things where, you know, you're kind of scared as a fan of like the Celtics. I'm like, all right, he could easily just cook here. But you know, I think that this Celtics team is the biggest thing is that defense travels, and I think that that's what's been really, really good for them this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, Tatum and Brown, any guy, scorer necessarily is going to have an off night here or there, but the fact that this defense has just been traveling so well, I really think that it's going to carry into the playoffs, and they've been there. That's the thing that people are forgetting about the Celtics team is that they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals, and like these guys, these stars know what it takes to get to that point and to make a deep playoff run. And so I hope that just this defense keeps playing the way that it's been playing, and Tatum and Brown and Smart and these guys that have been here can can just lead these younger guys along with like Al Horford and them. And hope, the East is stacked this year, but I'm hoping the Celtics can make another deep run. So appreciate the time.
Got it, AJ. Thank you. And I will say that while the statistical Boston Celtics defense has been there all year, the moment that they started running Horford and Robert Williams out there together, it's been such a noticeable difference with that size. Like any true center, any true interior scorer would just get Robert Williams into foul trouble. Then they would have to bring in Horford to spell him, not to run alongside him. They're not getting beat up on the glass anymore, closing out possessions, relying so much on Grant Williams and Robert Williams III to close out possessions. I'm telling you, is the most underappreciated part of basketball, that you can play 24 seconds of the greatest defense in the world, and it doesn't fucking matter an ounce if you don't get the rebound or box the other team out. And that had plagued the Celtics for the first 3 months of this season, guys. That despite having Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, the reason why that they were blowing these leads is because they go play in the half court, and if one of those two didn't have it that night, letting the other team get easy points. But the defense had always been there, just not the closeout. Now that they're putting it all together, you don't have to worry about teams getting layups and then praying Jaylen Brown or Jayson Tatum can bail you out. So it's one of those situations that you saw, of course, it's that same conference finals team there with the talent and the potential. But why weren't they winning games? Why were they 500? Why were we blowing so many leads? Leads get blown because you don't score in the half court and you give up easy points on the other end. It's very rarely because someone on the other team is just out shooting you. That doesn't happen when you're up by 20 points blowing leads like the way that the Celtics were. Now that they figured out that problem, the defense plus now the analytics, the eye test, the closeouts, and the efficiency have all combined so that we don't need a nuclear night from Jayson Tatum to save the day anymore. When he has one tonight against Kevin Durant, that's a plus, and it's needed. And it's kind of scary that you need Jayson Tatum to perform at the level that he did today to win a game by a couple of points, because that Kevin Durant performance that he gave us, just a very quiet 38, I think is what he ended with, or maybe 41. That's the expectation. That's going to happen every day ending in a Y. That's how good that dude is. And that's why they're still so scary. And you have to figure if Ben Simmons was on the floor, he's D'ing up Jayson Tatum and not shutting him down, but you don't know if he's getting 50 with Ben Simmons on him. That's the scary part. So it's there for Boston. Enjoy this win. But the biggest challenge for them, it feels like their biggest enemy is always going to be themselves. The same way we've said that about the Warriors. They're the East Coast version of that, because they have to continue to put their game plan together, and you figure everything else will fall into place. Who's next? Anybody out there? Next up is Sheriff Op 3. Welcome in. Sheriff Op 3 going once. Sheriff Op 3 going twice. You got to disconnect. If you disconnect, just please re-request to speak, and I'll get you in as soon as you re-request. Next up, we're going over to Peter. I think that's Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic in the profile picture, which means we can finally get some Jokic talk in here. Unless he doesn't connect, which would be unfortunate. I was looking forward to it. Going once, going twice, 2 in a row. You know what happens if you get 3 in a row. Re-request to speak. It always works the second time for some reason. So just re-request again, and I'll get you in here. Let's try T Dice. I think that's what your name is. T Dice. I would assume so. Or T3 maybe. Really? 3 in a row. He's trying. Trying to connect. Going once. We really about to have 3 in a row? You're going to make me talk about Shohei Ohtani, aren't you? Because I will. I'm going to keep letting people in here, but I will talk about Shohei Ohtani until someone connects. We're going to Brad. but I will remind you that Shohei Ohtani has hit the longest home run in baseball history, okay? That Thursday night game against the Seattle Mariners, I've tweeted about it on the burner. Brad, you got to unmute yourself. Okay.
Well, can you hear me?
Well, now I can. Now I can stop talking about Shohei Ohtani, but I'm going to finish that point later. All right, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Bob. Huge fan. Appreciate all you do.
Yes, sir.
But golly, watching Jokic tonight was just unbelievable. I mean, he pretty much coasted through the first half. I think he only missed I think he was 5 for 7 or something like that in the first half.
Can we say, even before you keep going, Brad, can we remind everyone listening to this, Nikola Jokic put up those insane numbers tonight on 70% shooting? Okay, please continue.
Just crazy. And I think it was 90%, 90.9% through fourth quarter and overtime for those 30 points.
Impossible buckets. These weren't layups. Granted, he had 9 free throws there, but a majority of those are game on the line, life on the line, half court, getting the best defender in the most stressful moment possible buckets at a 70% clip.
Just stupid efficiency, just stupid. And so he basically coasted through that first half. We blew a lead. He went out for 3 minutes and 50 seconds at the end of the third quarter. I think we were up 1. And then we got 3 technicals and we're down 10 at the start of the fourth quarter. And then just to come and watch him just absolutely dominate with 23 points in the fourth quarter, making every single shot. He is the most efficient post scorer in the league, and he comes off at the end of a shot clock, runs from the post out to the 3-point line like he's Duncan Robinson or something for a deep wing 3.
He doesn't run, he waddles. He waddles out there.
Waddles. It's just, oh my gosh, it's just amazing. What a treat. Just a joy to watch.
I wish the city of Denver would be able to, wish they could watch on something other than streamlive.east or streameast.live. No one in the damn city carries the Nuggets because of their carrier dispute other than DirecTV, I think. But watching this guy every night, it's been like this every night. It's something different. The same way the Knicks invent ways to lose, this guy invents ways to win because he's unlike any other player in the league, man, the way that he plays. And of course, I'm making fun of him by saying he's waddling to these threes, but he almost won the game with that steal at the end of regulation. He looked pretty spry there, didn't he?
Oh, it's just awesome. I was freaking out. I was like, I can't believe he's going to win on another defensive. That would have been his 4th, defensive win of the season.
And
because he had three game-winning blocks already this season. That would have been a steal. Dude, which would have been awesome.
Every single one of these buckets in the fourth quarter. Granted, the Pelicans throwing everything at him too, and they have the guys to be able. They have Jonas. They have Jackson Hayes. They got defenders that know that if anyone on this planet can contain Nikola Jokic, you would figure that even you throw Herb Jones over there in a double team, they were giving him all sorts of looks with different players. And for him to just stand there on the nail on the foul line extended, turn around, put the ball above his head, and just dribble in the most, it's not innocent, but just lackadaisical of ways. And that's his version of a crossover. Because if you lunge at it, then you'll just spin around and wrap some fucking pass around your head that's going to be on a dart to the corner if he gets you to lunge at it. But if you don't, he's just going to stand there and dribble like he's fucking Stanley from The Office and just launch some shit over his head that's going to go in. And it's impossible. And every single one of those 30 points there was a 17-foot isolation, back turned to the rim jump shot. So now that we know he's got it, he's probably going to win the MVP again, at least in my opinion after tonight. But there's a bigger question here now that he's back to being this galactic basketball player is when Jamal Murray returns, considering that it's the same. Remember, Jokic was not this good in the bubble. It wasn't that he didn't have the same talent or he was on the same path. It was that Jamal Murray existed and he eats up a ton of usage. So seeing them not only go back to when they were so good together in the bubble, can it still work with Jokic being this significantly better? Is Jamal Murray willing to become the back seat rider. These are the same questions I had about Harden and Tyrese Maxey, and that seems to be working out just fine, right? But I'm just kind of curious, with Murray not being 100% coming off a major leg injury, can he still perform at the same level in the bubble? And if he can Jokic still be this productive? Because he's one of the very few guys now. I talked about the handful of players that can be the best player on a championship team. That's obvious at this point that Jokic can do that. But can he eat up 35% usage when Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray return to the lineup? Are they willing to defer? Will it still work? It works because you surround Jokic with Will Bartons and Monte Morrises and guys that are ready at attention for the ball, that are willing to play that role. I just want to know, are those guys going to be able to play that role? The answer is most likely yes, but it's something I'm certainly going to be looking out for as the Denver Nuggets go from, oh, what a great story, they made the playoffs, to, holy shit, are they the dark horse to win the title?
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully we get a chance to see it. So, yeah, just a joy to watch.
Got it. Thank you, Brad. I promised Peter I'd get him back in here. Welcome back, Peter.
Hello, can you hear me this time?
I can now. It's always the second time.
All right, I don't know what happened. But I'm here to talk a little bit more about Jokic. We were just on the topic.
Sure.
And, so Jokic's career high is 50, and he did this on I believe it was February of last year against the Kings. And I was wondering, do you think the performance we just saw from Jokic is the best we've ever seen, the best performance he's ever done, his best game as ever?
I mean, I would need to take time to line up it feels like he's been doing this tonight every single game in a different form. We could certainly sit here and say that no NBA player has gone 40, 13, and 12 on 70% shooting. Again, saying that out loud is just insane. But yes, that is something that happened. He's got the 3 blocks. Again, he's checked off multiple Wilt Chamberlain boxes tonight. So you could make the case this is certainly the best of the season. But some of his most impactful plays have been on defense this year too. So that game-saving block, and the first one was the Zion block last year, and there's been many in between. And he almost had another with the steal. So it's not just numbers that I'm going to judge Jokic's all-time or season best performance on. It's his impact, because my definition of most valuable player is VORP, value over replacement player. If you took that man out of the lineup, what happens to the team? And in these performances that he has put up these insane numbers, if you took him off the team, I just don't think the Denver Nuggets are even remotely close to touching 500. So I will say, yeah, all of the performances without Jamal Murray would be at the top of the list. Otherwise, I would certainly be a hypocrite.
Yeah, and I do think that was Jokic's best game, personally. And I'm a avid Nuggets. I'm actually reporting the Nuggets. I watch every game, and I'm not gonna say firmly, but I definitely believe it's his best game ever. I mean, like the Kings game, he shot Bray had 50 points. He shot 20 of 33. Tonight was just an unbelievable display of how truly great Jokic is. And as you touched on earlier, I mean, it's a shame that Denver can't watch it on TV because, no one can do it. It sucks.
Yeah, Peter, thank you for the call. The best Jokic performances, again, aren't the highlights that go viral on the timeline. Granted, that pass that he made to the other night, it was in Portland, I think, the magic pass or the side spin pass. Those are Jokic's most viral plays, the same way Ja's alley-oops and DeMar's mid-range, right? It's kind of patented at this point. But his best performances are the games that this man just dribbles the basketball and just shoots the ball from mid-range. As you say that out loud, that's not very sexy. That's not very MVP-esque. That's not holy shit. It's just so clinical. How easy he makes what is a simple sentence look. Why doesn't everyone else just play the game? Jokic apparently can't jump, can't run, can't do it, and it's just bucket after bucket in the most impossible and strenuous of times. Let's give the wheel a spin, shall we? I'd like to remind everyone that if you're enjoying the show here tonight, we got the chat lighten up. We got almost 300 concurrents in here in the overflow room. The waiting lobby is Underdog NBA YouTube channel. This is where you're going to want to be as we move the show over to a separate platform in the future. Come on over, subscribe, join the chat. We have a nice little community. It's a safe place. And yeah, you'll join right in. All right, here we go. Another Jokic fans are starting to pile into the chat here. Mikey Dalvitt, welcome in.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
What's good?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is the third Jokic one in a row, but it's becoming unbelievable. And just to carry on what you were talking about, how you think Porter and Murray can you would think they can come back into it, and I have a hard time thinking they can. There's never been I've never seen a selfish aspect of Nuggets basketball in the past 4 or 5 years. And especially, I mean, Porter, just with the way he plays, he's not going to be a ball dominant guy anyways. Mm-hmm. He'll just be a guy who spots up and hopefully can start making some threes, because Jokic could have probably had 5 more assists that were wide open, no one on him threes tonight.
It's a lot different when MPJ's shooting those instead of Aaron Gordon. And God bless Aaron Gordon's soul. He's essential, but you don't want him shooting the wide open threes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, and there's no one, like Bryn Forbes on the Nuggets has been huge as of late, but there's no one else. And Monte Moore's been hitting deep threes. But if there's someone in Monte's face or Bryn's face, they're either not shooting it or it's not going in. Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. Both hit contested threes. Like Jamal Murray over Kawhi 2 years ago in the 3-1. Just breaks his ankles, but Kawhi's still in your face, hits it. MPJ over Portland last year. It's just guys who can hit those contested ones and will regularly hit the wide open ones. And just the Murray-Jokic two-man game is one of the more incredible just things to watch, where they both just work off each other, and Murray can come in those quarters where Jokic needs 5 minutes to rest. Murray will offset with Morris, and he'll give you 10 points in that minute. Have a Murray flurry.
Yeah, and you know what, man? Tonight, Mikey, thank you for the call. Tonight, the Nuggets were left for dead. When Michael, I almost called him Mike Malone. He would have called in and yelled at me. When Michael Malone got ejected, Bryn Forbes slammed the ball, got another technical. They had to pull him out of the game. And Brandon Ingram went to the line and shot like 3 technical fouls. They stretched that lead to 10 points there. They were left for dead after blowing it. Your coach got ejected, bad vibes in the gym. But this guy, this number 15 guy, refuses to let this team lose. Just drag them from the depths of hell again. And how many times that he's done it this season on a team that had no right winning that game tonight. I guess that's not true, though, because Jokic is there. But they get killed in the non-Jokic minutes, and that's going to change again when Murray comes back and they can start spelling some of these other guys to the second unit. It doesn't take a night off either. And David Nelson over here in the YouTube chat says Jokic is one of the first pass-first superstars we've ever seen. Certainly put Magic Johnson on that list. But that Jokic makes his teammates better before he makes himself better is, I think, what is going to define this guy's legacy. There's, of course, Michael Jordan is the most famous scorer of all time, and we're talking about Kevin Durant being the best offensive player. But Jokic, in terms of just being whatever your definition of a teammate is, good God. Let's move on. Still a lot of you in here that want to chat, so I will be here. Next up, going over to Will. What's up, Will?
What's up, Rob?
Hey.
Hey, man. I want to talk about 2 teams really quick that just their futures.
Sure.
And the 2 small market teams is Memphis and Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
These are 2 teams that have all of their first-round draft picks. They have multiple contracts that they can move, guys that play well for them that are easily movable. They have so many options coming up. I'm a little bit more worried for Cleveland because I feel like one small step could kind of ruin it. The Karis LeVert thing doesn't look like it's working out. I mean, he handles the ball too much. Allen just got hurt. What do you see for these guys to do? Who can they get? Who wants to be there?
Well, let me defend Cleveland real quick because first of all, LeVert's only played a couple of games, but he's exactly what they need. They very much like the Knicks lacked, other than Darius Garland, guys that can create their own offense. It's been up to Evan Mobley and it's been up to Darius Garland to carry their weight. LeVert is just a microwave scorer who will be a necessity for a team that desperately needs that, as Sexton, as Rubio, and now even Jared Allen. They drop. These guys are locked up long term as well. So the future theirs is certainly bright. But you bring up a good point here, and it's going to be consistent with both Memphis and Cleveland, is who are they going to get to come sign? What A-lister is going to hit free agency and choose to sign with Cleveland and Memphis? And this is not meant to be an insult to those cities, but precedent and legacy and history have told us that those small market, those specific teams have a difficult time signing major free agents unless LeBron James is there in uniform. They like to sign with Miami and New York and San Francisco and LA because they're about to make a shit ton of money and they want to go live where they want to live. And there's, again, no right or wrong answer there. But what's going to happen here, just to answer your question, is that Ja Morant is going to ascend to a level as he follows these Derrick Rose parallels. Some people like the comparison, some people don't. But the reason why I bring it up here in this particular context is how he needs to differentiate himself from Derrick Rose. As we learned, Derrick was very much the anti-recruiter, right? So Derrick Rose made a point to say, I'm never going to call anyone and say, hey, come play with me. They can come reach out to me and they can, like, I'm the Godfather, they can call for a meeting. But Derrick Rose never actively went out there and with either his boys or a potential free agent and did what LeBron James has done so successfully now for 20 years, and it's to find his Anthony Davis. So who does Ja Morant know? Who is he close with? Is it a Damian Lillard like? Is it a Bradley Beal? You know, I would love to see Ja Morant, whether it's through a trade because they have enough pieces, or at some point, Ja Morant to ascend to a level of superstardom that he has pull, that he has a force field to bring in these players, and they want to choose to play there not because they love the city of Memphis, that they love the direction of the franchise, but because Ja is there. I think that's ultimately going to be their biggest sales piece or biggest sales leverage in the near future that's feasible.
See, I agree. My thing is that these are two teams, they have to trade for somebody. Like, Dillon Brooks is a great piece next to Bane and Ja, but Dillon Brooks is your key to go and getting more. He has the contract to do it. They have the picks around him. Same in Cleveland. You can put Markin in a package. You got to move him. Okoro's great, but his shot is just not there all the way yet. And LeVert is a fine player. I just don't want LeVert to take the ball away from a guy like Mobley, who looks like he's going to be Kevin Durant, but Kevin Garnett on just this different plateau. It's really cool, and I'm from St. Louis, so, man, small towns, I know them. It's just really cool to finally see two small market teams in this league get great players who are under control, and you know that there's something in front of us to watch.
It's been that is certainly a change, and I will attribute that to the depth of these drafts. Will, thank you for the call. Every draft that goes by, there's more. It feels like every 30 first-round picks from this past draft is making an impact on their team one way or another. Almost all 30. In the past, it had been 5 to 7 because the rookies can't get in or they just weren't that good. But there's so much talent. The talent pool is so deep that teams like Cleveland and Memphis, and they're not the only ones that are finding these superstar talents either by winning the lottery. Memphis got up to number 2 to get Ja. And granted, Cleveland's had their lottery success as well, but that's what's required to pull in stars of this magnitude. The point of those players being under team control is why we'll never get over the Halliburton for Sabonis trade. And Sabonis is putting up numbers. You know, it's great. It's fine. The Kings are losing games as we all expected. You know, I don't know what they're going to do when Sabonis hits unrestricted free agency, but Halliburton's team controlled because he's still on his rookie deal. You could have that guy on your team for the next decade. And if you're a small market, all you need to do is hit on either a Halliburton or the degree of a Mobley, a Morant, and Lord knows how many examples there are out there. Even to an extent, Herb Jones with New Orleans and what he's doing on this team and how important he is on a team that is flourishing right now. Herb Jones is not in the category of Evan Mobley and John Morant. But to hit on someone that's team controlled, that is so important to your rotation, and to have them make an impact so early in all of these small markets. I'm looking at you, San Antonio, with DeJounte Murray and Keldon Johnson, Primo. Even teams that are struggling, most of them, you can see the future, what they're working towards. Makes you want to root for them, right? Because it's done the right way. But ultimately, if Memphis and Cleveland want to be taken seriously as championship contenders, because even despite Memphis being the number 2 seed now, I don't have them winning the finals. I think making the conference finals, just making it, not winning it, making it would be a surreal achievement. Surreal. And they certainly have pieces there, whether it's Dylan Brooks, it's Clark, it's Desmond Bane, it's DeAnthony Melton, the list goes on. Jaren Jackson Jr. may end up on first team all defense the way he's headed. The list is endless. And if they want to package a couple of those guys together and obtain that star that would traditionally not end up in a smaller market like Memphis, maybe that's the play. But if it's not broken, don't fix it, man. Another wobism for the bingo card over here on Underdog NBA's YouTube channel. Have we hit bingo yet? Gonna keep going. I got more than 50 people in here requesting to speak. Next up is Sammy Jr. Nice profile picture, Sammy Jr.
Yep, couldn't be more happier with McBride tonight. I just wanted to say a couple things.
Sure.
One, I can't stand Evan Fournier. I don't like watching him. I think he's a horrible player, and it might seem like recency bias, but he when he's shooting good, yeah, like that's cool, but he doesn't play a lick of defense. I mean, he doesn't play any defense at all. And what drove me crazy, I want to go back to the Suns game. He gets in the fourth quarter, he gets a pump fake, he gets his man to jump, and instead of driving the basketball, he hasn't taken a dribble yet. He reloads it for a contested three, and it just drives me crazy. But, I just wanted to hear your thoughts on Evan Fournier. And then the only other thing I wanted to say was McBride actually plays really good defense, and I think he showed that tonight. I hope this earned him more minutes. He's low. He moves his feet a lot. He harasses them. He picked up fouls, and he only scored like 3 points. But I really liked his defensive intensity, and I think Thibs needs to start playing these guys more because it really looked it was actually fun to watch. So I just wanted to say that. And I was trying to hear your thoughts. Yeah,
Sammy, thank you for the call. It's how I opened the show. It's what I said. I let go a huge Braveheart, Mel Gibson freedom. And amen and hallelujah that this was probably the first Knicks game I've enjoyed this year in 2022. I want to remind everyone that Miles McBride tonight didn't score his first point until 17 minutes of playtime. It was a 3-pointer. He had 1 rebound. That was his only stat. And he finished the game plus 27. He was plus 30 before garbage time. And again, how does that happen in 18 minutes of play? Because this man is an elite, famous college defender. Full court, 92 feet. And the difference, because for Evan Fournier to be an efficient player, he's going to have to make 50% of the threes that he's out there because of what he's given back on the defensive side. Terrible on-ball individual defender, terrible help defender. You get layups against Evan Fournier. Miles McBride doesn't need the ball in his hand, so that means more usage for your high offensive production efficiency players like R.J. Barrett, what you would hope would be Julius Randle or Emmanuel Quickley and Cam Reddish. He doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective, and then all of a sudden, everyone can go back to doing their damn roles. I just beg that you need a guy like this out on the floor at all times. You don't need a bunch of hoopers out there. You need someone that is just dedicated to grinding defensive possessions, especially when you are the worst, one of the worst teams in the league at giving up threes. Period. Moving on. Sorry, I'm just doing some scrolling. All right, let's go. Next up on the old wheel spin, we've got Risky Powerhouse. What's up, Risky? Uh-oh. Smells like a disconnect. Oh, there he is.
Yes, sir.
What's
up with you, man?
Talk to me.
Bro, thanks for having me on, bro. Big fan and all of that stuff.
Yes, sir.
Y'all, I'm mute my mic immediately if my son started crying. Y'all excuse me, he a month old, so you can just kick me out if he start crying, okay?
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. But yeah, bro, great basketball weekend in its totality in terms of just the league in general. I'm seeing the steam rising back up for Jokic as MVP. What I don't understand is, and I started my podcast as of late recently, so y'all check out the Risky Powerhouse on YouTube. But I talk ball, and the main thing that motivated me to talk ball was when I watch TV. These dudes are so stuck in talking about the Lakers losing or talking about is Kyrie ever going to be able to play. We know the vaccine mandate. No, he's not going to be able to play. Gracious, like, why is it that? Well, we know the reason. It's money, but players like Jokic should have never, ever been out of the top two for MVP all this season. When Curry and KD, they ran it up for the first 15 games or so. Mm-hmm. Those guys were averaging 30. They were top of the conferences. I respect that. But at any time after that, once Jokic got his team over 500 and they surpassed the Lakers and they got that 6th seed, it should have been clear and evident that he the MVP to me, because he's leading the league in every major advanced metric, any measurement of impact. Jokic is leading the league, bro. Defensive box plus 9 is value over replacement player. PER, highest PER season of all time. He's doing everything for his team, offensively and defensively. Another thing, when you watch the 50 from LeBron, every network is going to talk about LeBron tomorrow. And we know that the Lakers aren't going anywhere, bro. They aren't going anywhere, you know? And I just think I think Jokic definitely need to get his just due. When you bring players like Embiid into the MVP conversation after he gets hot for the month of January and February, I just don't think that it's right that whoever the hottest player gets the nod more so who's been dominant all year. Embiid for y'all that don't know, Embiid, if you look at his first 25 games this season, first 25, he missed about 11 or 12 of them, and he only averaged 20 points and 9 rebounds for the first 20-something games. Tell me that's an MVP. Now, I understand he's averaging 33, 34 points, 11, 12 rebounds as of late, the last 30 days. And in closing, I understand that he's hot, but he hasn't been the MVP throughout the entirety of the year. That's been Jokic, because what Jokic been doing month in, month out, rebounding the ball, being the best rebounder on his team, because he have to, not just because he is. It's because nobody else can occupy any role on the Nuggets consistently. Whereas Philly, you have Matisse Thybulle who can guard your best defender. You got Tobias who gonna get you 20. You got Maxey who gonna get you 15, 5 and 5 and play out of the Embiid double team. You got Danny Green catching and shooting, Court Miles, such and such. So yeah, man, we need to get out of the recency bias of who's the hottest player for MVP, and we need to really do our due diligence as fans and keep up with the course of the season so we can hold these people accountable that's supposed to, because we as the fans should have not law for the league, it's not law, but when we make pushes and we make complaints and we pay for the tickets and we watch the games and we kind of judge the product, we can make a case for getting rid of these 1 month MVPs. And that's all I got to say. Shout out to Nikola Jokic. He's clearly the front runner. Giannis number 2, in my opinion, and then I'll take DeRozan number 3, and that's it.
So before I let you go, thank you for the insight. I'm kind of curious just because you brought it up, but everyone's opinion on an MVP is different. That's what makes it such a talking point, and it's such a subjective topic because the voters on it, the people who actually get to choose MVP, a majority of them, if you look at the names when the list comes out and who they all voted for, those are beat writers for specific teams, whether it's the Detroit Free Press or the Philadelphia Inquirer. Okay, now I'm not.
They only watch one area. They don't even watch Western Conference games.
And it's not their fault either, because first of all, they have a job. They probably have a family, just like yourself, and they're not up watching Tyrese Halliburton and the Indiana Pacers dribble around on a Sunday afternoon. All right, because they probably have something else.
That game earlier too. That was a great game until Indiana kind of
Right. But my point, I guess my point is they rely on these type of conversations, and the other side is the content which is produced and distributed across the NBA partner platforms, which is ESPN and TNT. A lot of people get frustrated because, to your point, if you wake up at 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow and you flip on one of those channels, you know what the A block is going to be? LeBron on Saturday night against Steph. And the reason why that is, well, first of all, it's LeBron. He's the most popular player, and that's what a lot of people want to discuss. But because the business of the NBA has already established that the Lakers are probably going to be on those channels, on those national TV games in prime time moving forward, that they need to keep them relevant as well. So I want to sit here and talk about Nikola Jokic as much as everyone else does. But the reason why the Miami Heat and even the Phoenix Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks, to an extent, they don't get the same type of coverage. Just know at the end of the day that it's only money talking. And it's the way that the business in all of these games had been set up before the season even started. Everyone's saying, why isn't Ja Morant on national TV more? Because whoever was picking the national TV schedule in August didn't foresee this happening. And if they would have put Memphis on national television Saturday night and Ja wasn't performing at this level, they would be fired in 2 seconds, okay? So anyone that works at a corporate America legacy broadcasting network like that, I can assure you, because I've spent a lot of time either working there as an employee, a contractor, or a freelancer, I can tell you everyone has one thing in common, and it's how do I not get fired? And you know how you not get fired? By putting LeBron James on national television and talking about it, because there's always going to be an audience. We're the minority, believe it or not, that want to talk about the game on a much deeper level, but there's also only 30 minutes in a pregame show, and that's before commercials start. So you have to prioritize that time. And that's just simply the economics of it. So that's a very long-winded way of me asking you what's your definition of value. I'll give you a second to think about it, but anyone that comes in here that wants to discuss MVP,
I had this conversation.
what's the definition of V and MVP for you?
Okay. Oh, the definition of V?
Yeah, value, like most valuable. Like, how would you define the word valuable?
Okay. The most valuable player in the league, and it happens every year. The most valuable player is the player who has to carry the most load for the mid-level team. Now, let me explain. You know, most MVP voters, what they do is they go to the number 1 seed and they find the best player. They go to the number 2 seed and they find the best player. But usually on those teams, they're sharing roles because they have enough talent to be that good. Like when you watch Steph with Draymond and Clay and Wiggs and Poole, Steph literally, what he does is great. Don't get me wrong. But he only has to score. His job is to pull the defense, and that's it. Draymond's job is to get the ball to whoever is open, whether it's going to be Steph 6 times out of the 10 passes, but his job is to pass and defend. Clay, you shoot and make quick decisions. Don't hold the ball too long because Draymond and Steph got to make the plays. So I need you to catch and shoot or pass and keep it moving, cut and defend. Okay? The MVP is when you look at the value of a replacement player advanced stat. That usually tells you who the MVP is because it's telling you who's carrying the most load over the player that is replacing them. For example, In 2019, James Harden was the MVP. 2018, James Harden was the MVP over LeBron. But when you look at that Rockets team with Capella, with Chris Paul, PJ Tucker, Trevor Ariza, Eric Gordon off the bench, LeBron played with a Cleveland team who lost Kyrie Irving for nothing, basically. Jay Crowder, hurt Isaiah Thomas, and Ante Zizic. LeBron had a team that wasn't consistent in the first half due to injury, age, and all of those things. Then they flipped their team at the deadline, and from the year before when they had Kyrie, and the very next year they got one game worse. They were 51 wins with Kevin Love and Kyrie. They were a 50-win team when LeBron was pretty much the only consistent piece all season. LeBron was the MVP because he was carrying more to get his team to that 50-win season, whereas Harden was averaging 30, but he got Chris Paul facilitating. He had Clint Capella rebounding and defending. He's only playing his role. So my definition of the MVP is not the best player on the best team. Which player is carrying the most for their team to get where they are? And that player this year is Nikola Jokic, bro.
That is quite the hypothesis, my friend, and it's going to be tough to argue against. And thankfully, I'm in the same boat as you. My definition of valuable is what happens to your team if that player goes away. Now, again, other people think differently. They think that the best player on the best team is enough reason to do it, and that's certainly a conversation to be had. But the all-encompassing MVP award distribution of how people vote on it, how they interpret it, there are so many different avenues of how a player gets selected, because we all live in echo chambers, right? And you try and find people that either agree with you or like-minded and can have a coherent conversation. And there's so many different life situations that are going to determine the most prestigious individual award in the NBA, which has massive bonus cap implications that the beat writers, it's these same echo chambers that influence a lot of the opinion on it. And that's always why it's a lightning rod topic that starts the conversation months well in advance of when it's even should be a thing. And I'm there with you. I'm on the Jokic train myself. I announced that at the beginning of the show. It's going to take one hell of an Embiid week. He's got to, like me personally, to see him go out there and get clamped by Miami in an 84-point performance. You can say all day that James Harden wasn't out there, but James Harden hasn't been out there all year, and Embiid was still performing, and he got shut down pretty bad. So that's just one example of many. But when you're going up against competition like Nikola Jokic, that seems to be just consistent across the board on both sides of the floor every single night, despite what's happening to the rest of the team, it's tough for me to start. It feels like a snowball going down a hill that's going to turn into an avalanche of Nikola Jokic.
Hey, Rob, I'm a big fan, bro. You asked me one question. I just want to ask you one question because I kind of care about your opinion, bro. This might sound crazy, but I do. Bro, last year, do you feel like Giannis was cheated in any way in the MVP race all season?
Cheated is a strong word. The best player in the league doesn't always win MVP. So he's the best.
Even statistically, when you watch the team, when you watch what Giannis did last year, it seemed like I believe the Larry Bird rule is a ghost rule in the NBA where when you win 2 in a row, you have to have a season that's historically great, not just the best out of the season, not just the best season out of who's in the league. You have to have a historic season because Larry Bird, I want to say Larry Bird and Bill Russell are the only players to win 3 consecutive MVPs. Mm-hmm. So I think they protect that. You know what I mean? I think even when you look at LeBron, when you look at even Giannis, I think Giannis deserves it because what he does offensively and defensively and in his basic box score, he was the most consistent player from the beginning of the year last year to the end. And I think with all the injuries to everybody else, they gave it to Jokic pretty much so they wouldn't give it to Giannis. That's how I truly feel. I don't think Jokic deserved it. Right now, he deserved it. You
can make that same reason as to why Karl Malone won the MVP that one year instead of Michael Jordan. And there's also voter fatigue and there's expectations. And you brought it up during your Jokic Open there that you brought up historically great PER. You know who had the historically great PER before Jokic this season?
2019 season.
Oh, I thought Jokic did it last year during his MVP year, and he's just eclipsing that again.
Oh, excuse me. I might not
I may be wrong too, but I know Jokic's year last year was either historic. If it wasn't Giannis, it was probably Jokic. Regardless, that Jokic is better than what is defined a player efficiency rating, if people use that as something that is of value. But Jokic is even better than his MVP year statistically. And if that is something that carries weight with you, then that checks that box of you have to be better than your MVP year regardless of the situation. Otherwise, LeBron should have won MVP for 10 straight years in that case. He was the best player in the league, clearly, and he was on a team for the most part until Kyrie and Kevin Love got there, in which it's a 15-win team without it. So you could have made the case every single season that LeBron probably should win it, but he didn't for circumstances, the same reason why Jordan didn't win it every single year. Best player in the league doesn't always win. So it's tough, man, but Jokic is certainly knocking out all of those obstacles at once right now.
Well, thanks, man, for having me in your space, bro. I've seen my followers go up a little bit. Y'all check out the Risky Powerhouse on YouTube. We got up to 1,340 subscribers. I started in December, so we're growing fast. Y'all see how my soliloquies went. You know, I try to give reasonable, objective, informative, as well as educated basketball tapes. I try to stress. I'm a LeBron guy, so y'all know how we can get. You know, I try to stay. You know, I have fun with the LeBron thing, but every other player and every other team, I try to be true and reasonable. So y'all tune into the Risky Powerhouse. Thanks for everything, Rod. I appreciate that 10 minutes I've been on your thing. And yeah, man, y'all keep it up.
Risky Powerhouse. Y'all give him a follow or a comment for good conversations. Seems to be difficult to find at times, but I do like learning new things from you guys. Granted, if you want to come in here and just ask questions, that's cool too. But as you can tell, if I can kind of expand my thought process of how I look at something new, that's how I consider something successful. I don't even need to agree with it. I just need to, why didn't I think of this first, you know? So I get it. And I agree with him in a lot of different ways. Risky Powerhouse. Who's up next? Should we spin the wheel here? Keep going? YouTube. By the way, Risky Powerhouse, if you're still listening to this, YouTube is dropping #ad into the chat here, saying that was it. You got to say #ad. You don't need to say #ad. We're more than happy to promote with it. And this is meant to be a community, so it's a democracy. I'm just the guy who has the microphone. Speaker of the House, not president. Speaker of the House. All right. Shall we? Oh, familiar face. Mark Goon. Welcome in. You go from critiquing Wobb's poker play to now critiquing his NBA takes, I imagine. Or you can just not connect and have me talk to myself. It's a shame. Going once. Again, and for some reason, if you guys don't connect, just do it again a second time. I can't explain why it works this way, but if you don't connect, it always works the second time. But we're going to move on. Next up, we're going over to Ducky. Hello, Ducky.
Hi.
Hi.
Dude, so sick. I'm actually on here. Hell yeah, I've been listening for a cool minute today, man.
Welcome in. I'm glad you stuck around to join us at this late hour.
Yeah, man, I was just watching some games today, man. Jokic fucking went off tonight. I have him on my fantasy team, so, you know, it's just nice seeing those numbers go up, and I think he's another clear favorite to get the MVP again back-to-back this year.
Feels like it for all the reasons we just discussed, and you know what we've been talking about this show. It's a unique season somehow after what we thought was probably the most unique season last year with him, but very similar to when Giannis won back-to-back. It feels like it's got to be his, right? It's got to be, and I'm more than willing to give Embiid his chance for the rebuttal, which is going to come this week. and he certainly, earned to be in the conversation as well. But tonight was a really big step. I always talk about the prerequisites of what's needed, and holy shit moment is up there. I need to have a moment that says, holy shit, that's the MVP. And Embiid certainly has his, but tonight, Jokic dropping 30 points in the fourth quarter in overtime is holy shit.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. 100%. You couldn't have said it any better. Not to tease you a bit, man, but I've been keeping up with your Knicks too, man. They've been a little bit up and down this season.
A little bit?
No, definitely not a little bit.
You don't need to be politically correct in here. You can tell them they fucking suck.
Yeah, of course, man. But I'm a Laker fan myself, so I can't really even speak much. But just in general, just to get a quick just thoughts on how you're feeling about them as well, and their season. And are you kind of giving up on them right now, or are you kind of getting a little bit of hope on some playing games or anything like that?
So just of course, I think about the Lakers the same way everyone else does, but they do have light at the end of the tunnel in two forms. The first of which is, last time I checked, LeBron James and Anthony Davis, when fully healthy, together can win a championship. Granted, you don't have Danny Green and Kuz and KCP and these 3-and-D guys surrounding, but LeBron and AD is still enough to win you a playoff series, even at this age. We saw LeBron do it on Saturday night with a performance that was Game 6 in the Boston Garden-esque. It's been a long time since we've seen one of those I'm the best player in the world, you sit down or get in the line type games. And it was nice to see. So it's still in the chamber. It exists. Okay, so that's step one. Step two is the West, in the 10th through 15th seed, is so bad that the Lakers are likely going to make the play-in tournament no matter what. So I don't even need to have the Westbrook conversation right now, but if it's Anthony Davis, and LeBron on the floor together, you have to think that they have a chance of making the actual playoffs. And if they do, we saw what Phoenix did to them last year, and they may ultimately end up doing it to them again. But it may be a rematch between Phoenix and the Lakers. And if you have a fully whole Anthony Davis, which they didn't have last year, now they may not because he's really banged up. That's the only hope there, is that you do have salvation / a second chance opportunity coming here within the next month and a half.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, of course. And just to finish off here, just because I don't want to spend too much time, I'll let you, take more listeners in, but just to get some insight as well, I'm going to be going to my first basketball game, March 18th. I'm going to be going to see Phoenix against the Bulls.
Oh, nice.
And I'm pretty excited about that, man. I know last time they played, Phoenix had won, but just conversating with some friends, I not really fully confident to say this, but I do kind of get a sense of that could be a finals matchup right there, Suns and Bulls, So I'm very excited to go see that.
If the stars align, and the Bulls are another team that needs to get healthy, because they have not. Yeah. They've struggled against the really good teams in the Eastern Conference. If they get Lonzo and Caruso back, you have to figure their defense maybe will be reestablished to what it was at the beginning of the season. But they're really struggling to close out these defensive possessions against teams that have superstars on the other side, which is why they're 0-8 against the East best teams. But before you go, what's your since this is your first game, you've obviously watched games before, but what's your expectation for going to one, since you've never been to an arena before?
Well, first off, my seats are actually really good. I'm right behind that back court, so I'm gonna be right there in one of the first rows. So I'm very excited. What I'm really hoping is D Book to come back, from COVID by that time, because that's one of my favorite players. Just from college all the way to professional hoops. I've been following him for years, and he's a really good player, and that's really I just really want to see him play. But if he were not to play, I just really want to see a shootout between both teams, because I know some players are banged up right now. CP3 won't be there. I know Caruso probably won't be back by that time. Maybe Lonzo might be back, but if I could get, see Levine and DeRozan against D Book and a few other guys, I'd be happy with that.
I hear you,
health-wise,
Yeah, hey Ducky, thank you for the call, and I hope you enjoy your first game. The reason why I asked him that question was you hear me talk about it all the time, but there are a lot of people like Ducky in the world that are NBA fans. You may live in a different country. You may live in the United States. You may have never been to an NBA game before. So when I'm talking more wide range NBA topics and why it's so important for these guys to play when they're actually healthy, But for when Steph Curry pulls the plug on someone like Ducky, I'm going to use that game in San Antonio as an example that so many people bought those tickets as Christmas presents that I've either spoken to, I read about, and they wanted to take their kids to see Steph, and then he just decides not to play the night before because they were on a back-to-back, and all that money that they spent and the hype and expectation, that's a massive letdown. Now, granted, Ducky there knows that there's a chance that Devin Booker may not be available, but you only get one chance to make a first impression. And for someone to go to a game and be let down because either a player wasn't there or it wasn't what it was made out to be, again, these are the type of fans in the world that the NBA should be actively appealing to, as opposed to the diehards, because people like ourselves, we're going to be here regardless. I may be a cynic about it at times, but the diehards aren't going anywhere. And if the NBA wants to truly get to the level of an NFL within the United States or UEFA Champions League across the world, it's going to require that when someone, again, like Ducky, decides, I want to go to my first NBA game for these specific reasons, that the NBA is able to deliver on that. Because I will tell you, as a fan and as someone that has been to now, I've been to at least 2,000 NBA games through either pleasure or work. Through vacation or work, all right? And that's not a brag, but I can attest to the NBA live experience being better than pretty much every sport other than if you were sitting on the glass in ice hockey. Just the speed, the engagement, and where the NBA differs from NHL and ice hockey is the players aren't wearing helmets. There's something about being able, you feel like you're a part of the action, that you can engage with their emotions, that you're not necessarily making eye contact with them, but there is a certain vibe to being at a live NBA game, especially if you're sitting real close to the floor. There's an energy there, which I don't know if can be replicated by any other professional sporting experience out there. Now, I said professional because there is college basketball and March Madness, which is, much different. But if you're showing up there, you will be in awe, regardless of who the two teams are. It could be the Magic, it could be the Pistons, it could be the Kings. It don't matter. If you're sitting close down there and you got a good game going on, you will be in fucking awe of just how brilliant these guys are at their craft. So I want to deliver that at all times. And when the product really sucks, like you've heard me complain about multiple times on the show, it's doing a disservice to those that we're trying to appeal to, because we all root for different teams, but I think we all are rooting for the best interest of growing the sport of the NBA, because the NBA's growth means more eyeballs, more engagement, more opportunity for the rest of us that it trickles down to, through the mothership and the grapevine. You need the NBA product to be delivering on the whole. And I hope when Ducky is able to go to that Suns Bulls game that he leaves saying it's everything that I expected, because it sure sounds like he's got high expectations for it. And as I'm sitting here telling you that the experience itself, when it's full throttle, when it's at the end, when they're delivering their part, when the players are doing their part, it's really hard to replicate. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Next up, going over to Morgan L. Hello, Morgan. Is Morgan there? Will Morgan unmute themselves? Bottom left corner.
Yo, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay, sorry. I was trying to change my profile picture just it was a trolling picture from earlier. I've been arguing with Pelicans fans all night. I'm a diehard Nuggets fan. There's all these people are in my DM saying that the Pelicans are better than the Nuggets. I mean, it's obviously not true, but anyways, I'm not going to bore you with the Nuggets talk like we've had all night.
Hey, whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, obviously I'm biased, but I think Jokic, but yeah, like that Ducky who was just speaking. That's cool that he's going to see his first game. I remember my first game was actually rest in peace, Kobe, but his first game back in Denver from all that rape stuff that happened, and it's memorable now because everything that happened, but I just remember the boos were insane. But on another topic, I know how you feel about Jokic and everything. I'm interested. What is your background? How did all this start? I know you have a mass following. I just followed you on a whim like a couple months ago, just because I kept seeing retweets and things. And I mean, I love your content. Like, what is your background?
Sorry, I'm just I'm responding to the comment section here. I heard your question. So I do love having these conversations, because as much as the YouTube chat is going to make fun of me for doing multiple Wobisms here, I hope that they remember that there are people like yourself that have only followed somewhat recently. And, the Worldwide Wob account has been something that's been going on now since 2010. So it's 12 years consistently of content, but people come in at different starting points, whether it was 2010 or back in the Wobtober days of 2016, or even now in 2022. We've got a new follower here that is just joining the show and trying to learn about exactly what this is. There's a reason why I think the account works, is because someone that's relatively new to the channel in the community has no clue what's going on. So what I find with those people is they read tweets very literally. And if they don't get the show, as Dan Le Batard famously likes to say, they're either going to love me or hate me, depending on what the tweet is that they read. And since you only have one chance to make a first impression, if the first thing that you see is something you dislike, usually those are the people that want to line up around the block to knock me out. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of those people, but I can never, change their mind at this point. So to answer your question, what has, I think, gotten this show and this community to the point has been just that, the community itself. They are responsible for, as we discuss basketball throughout the years, we come up with separate, unique and proprietary segments that turn into different shows. And I have certainly evolved with the technology, because as far back as soon, it's not as far back, but as recently as 2015, 2016, you could not go live on the internet video, period. There was no YouTube Live. There was no Twitter Spaces. There was Vine. And then eventually there was Meerkat. And there was Periscope. Okay, these were very chicken and egg. Like, this was the egg level type of broadcasting yourself out to the world. So I personally have just always evolved with the technology. There was a time when you couldn't even put pictures, let alone videos, on Twitter. So I was blogging and writing a ton. I have thousands of articles that no one has ever seen, because I was just grinding. In the event that anyone ever gave me an opportunity to do it for a paycheck, I would be ready to go. My mentality has always been just to be a Swiss Army knife of content. So you need the ability to write, you need the ability to produce, do audio, video, digitals, live, all of these things. It could be live to tape. It could be something like a podcast that's you put into production, evergreen type content. But being able to do it all, I've just taught myself. I've taught myself Photoshop. I taught myself After Effects, and I taught myself Adobe Premiere to make videos with. I taught myself OBS. I didn't go to college for any of this, and I knew, as long as I was being authentic as a fan, that if I could figure out the technology part of it, maybe other people could relate to it at some point. So maybe that answers your question. Maybe it doesn't, yeah. But I've just always, it's the core of what we produce here in the show has always been just Worldwide Wob, the NBA fan. There's certainly more to me that people will find out eventually, and they'll hopefully learn about the history of how we got to this point and why I say and do certain things in a certain way. But it's very difficult for me to have to educate them every single day, because then it just gets annoying and saturated. So it's always been a balance of how do you deal with the people that have been around a long time while still appealing to the newbies that don't really know what's going on. There's got to be some middle ground there. And that's the biggest challenge for anyone out there that's interested in creating content. I'm sure that's a lot of you listening to this right now. How do I build an audience? How do I create things that you can be the greatest writer in the world, and if you don't have a way of distributing it, then no one will ever be able to see it. So for me, it's always just been passing around the mic in a very democratic community society type deal. I know the comments, especially over here on the YouTube channel, they feel like they have equity in the show. And I always want the listeners to feel like you own as much of the show as I do. And I think that sentiment has been shared throughout the years.
Right. Yeah, and my favorite, I think what really got me interested in it was your Compazzo thread. We need to start getting him some more burns so that we can get his passes back. he's just, I mean, he's just a legend. I remember I live in Austin, Texas now, but I just moved out here from Colorado. I was back for winter break, and I was in Cherry Creek, kind of where he lives at. He's just walking around the street, just dapping everybody up. He's just like the coolest guy, like just the most kind of level-headed guy. But yeah, I'll let you get back to the show. I've been in here quite a bit, and this is the first time I got the opportunity to speak, so I appreciate it.
Thanks for the question. I'm more than happy to answer all these. This show particularly doesn't always have to be about basketball. If you have questions about creating content, if a lot of people are not necessarily afraid, but they want to be educated. Everyone wants to fast track, right? Overnight. You don't have to put in the work, and some people are certainly willing to, but you want to expedite you want to spend 10 years like I did, just writing and tweeting for nothing. Before you can build your own niche. But the one piece of advice that I always give is find yourself something very specific. Think of Shark Tank, right? When that show, when you got to come in there with a very unique idea that hasn't been done before, the first question that get asked is, do you have any competitors? Is anyone able to knock this off? Do you have a patent? Now, you can't really put a patent on content, but I knew I wanted to do one thing. When I was just getting started, I wanted to be the go-to place for NBA fan, NBA gambling type of conversations all the way back in 2010, 2011. People are going to know me for one very specific thing. And then when I feel like I've maximized that audience, maybe I'll spread into doing something a little bit different. And that's when you start getting into the more NBA content and analysis and sharing opinions on stuff outside of basketball. And the police chases were a big thing back for a couple of years there. So it was only until I will only expand into other categories when I feel like I've gotten an MD or a black belt in one very specific niche of content creation. On that note, we have reached, I believe we are getting to the midnight hour here on the West Coast of the United States. Sunday. The show's not over, so don't go anywhere. But I will say this is likely, may not be, but it may likely be the last Twitter Spaces show before we move it over to a separate platform. And of course, I'll give you all the details on that in the foreseeable future. And we'll continue. The show will not change. Radio Roulette will still exist, and you'll still call in. It'll just be on a separate platform. But for tonight, I feel like this is a good point to begin the after party. And for those of you that are here, just like the gentleman I just spoke to, that is relatively new and you don't know what the after party is, or if you would just want to find out, come on over to Underdog NBA's YouTube channel, where we are going to begin 101.9 Radio Roulette FM After Hours. So for this edition of Radio Roulette, Rob Perez. And if this is the last time I speak to you on Twitter Spaces, may not be in perpetuity, but for the foreseeable future. As always, it's good morning, it's good afternoon, and it's good evening. This is my sign-off, by the way. This is my trademark sign-off. To wherever in the world you may be, we can sleep when we're dead, but for now we talk hoop. I will see you guys on YouTube. Good night. I believe it is those hours, if I'm not mistaken. Not just any hours, hours. And ironically enough, it is an endless Sunday. It's the Sunday that would not end today, folks. Welcome back. It's the after party. It's 101.9. Hit that royalty-free jazz music. Hello, everybody. Hold on, let me refresh the page here. We'll get you all back. What's good? Hey, thank you for all the likes, by the way. We got up to 170. I told you that shit helps. See, we got people in here. All right, let me scroll through these comments that I missed here. Rest in peace, Twitter Spaces. I don't know if it's a forever RIP, but I will be moving to a new... Now, here's the good news. Before I continue on these comments, Here's the good news is you guys are like, well, that sucks because if it's on a separate platform, how do I know WOB's going to go live? How am I going to, like, I'm not going to have alerts set. Am I going to have to download something new? You're going to have to download something new. But if you do, first of all, it's free. That doesn't change. But if you go through the process of downloading the app where it's going to live, there's going to be 10% of the people are not going to come over from Twitter Spaces. So if you've ever wanted to speak and get on, your chances have just multiplied by probably 4x. If there's only 15 people requesting to speak as opposed to 50, you're going to get on, right? So download the damn app. Someone's asking, any date news? No, still struggling. Boat Girl's still in the picture, but I can't connect with her. She keeps giving me reasons why she can't hang out. And at this point, it's just a hobby. I'm not losing any sleep over it. It's just a principle of getting at least one more date, regardless of what her situation is. But I want to believe she's earnest about still wanting to hang out and stuff, because I do like her. But I mean, I move mountains to make. I missed the NBA. I missed Luka's game winner to go out with her. Like, I move NBA. I miss NBA games for her. That's the biggest thing I can do. Hello, ZZ. Long time. Long time. He's ours now, yeah. What happened to the Periscope streams? Thinking about them makes me nostalgic, right? When I'm giving the story about WOB, those Periscope streams back in the day, before the opportunity to take calls and stuff like that. Some of those got really weird, didn't they? It's where we met Lexi. We played GTA one night, and she said, press triangle to do a barrel roll, and it almost ejected me from the plane. Like, some pretty memorable moments there. It's, again, just technology changes, man. Periscope doesn't exist anymore. There's different points. Somebody's asking, what's up with the wrist brace? You know what? I was driving my Dodge Challenger, and a night sun hit me right in the eye, and I broke it on the wheel. How was the race today? Disappointing because I wanted Kyle Busch or Martin Truex to win. I've got some futures bets on Joe Gibbs Racing, and they got screwed by Eric Jones blowing a tire. But it was a good race. It was good racing. Yes, the app should be available to every country in the world, I would figure. ZZ, it's not over yet. He said he likes her. I'm finished. I do like her, but she clearly doesn't like me back enough, so I can get over it very quickly. I've done this now for 30 years. I don't lose much sleep over women anymore once you get so used to it. Cam Reddish is actually scary if you think about it. He's 6'8", can shoot threes, aggressively drive the ball, and play defense. You think? Like, yeah, we all know. And even if he struggles, that's not a reason to take him out. The only reason why you would take him out is because you're trying to win games and make the playoffs. That is not a priority anymore. And you watch Cam Reddish go off like he did tonight. He was the best player on the floor. Fucking need it, man. What do I think is the best Game of Thrones episode? My personal favorite was Hard Home. I would say Hard Home. Mountain versus the Viper is pretty damn good. Everyone will say Battle of the Bastards, but I'd say those probably up there. Days says, I still have a clip of you freaking out on Periscope before the Durant to Brooklyn trade. That wasn't a trade. That was a signing. Fun times. Was that Periscope? I can't tell you guys exactly where I'm moving to yet, but there will be information very soon. ZZ says, I was in Santa Monica today looking around to see you with the doggo, not stalking you at all. That's reassuring. I'm easy to find. The new Batman was amazing. Don't you dare say those words, though. You know what I'm talking about. Don't you dare say them. That'll get you auto-blocked if you say it's better than. When's the next burrito test? I will have one for you likely tomorrow, as a matter of fact. Stannis' siege on King's Landing was the Battle of the Blackwater, was it not? What do I think will happen next year with the Pelicans? That's a good question. Is Zion going to be on that team? Do they even need Zion? Considering what you get back for him, he's a great player, but this Pelicans team is pretty damn good. They should have won that game tonight if it wasn't for Jokic's brilliance. Wob, do you have any insight as to why their locker room is so discombobulated for the Hawks? I don't. Who's my NFL team? That's the Colts. Do a live show in LA someday? Not a bad idea. I'll just tweet it. Do I need to do a live show or do I just tweet what bar I'm at? Why would I do that? I guess I answered my own question. Thank you, Nicholas. You were close. You were close, but you doing the Robert De Niro. That's the correct answer. What was the last video game that I played all the way through? It's got to be Call of Duty, the most recent World War II game. Almost every playoff team is waiting a key piece or pieces to join their team and take it to the next level. Has there ever been a case like this before? Yeah, probably. I mean, a lot of players are usually missing, but there's a lot sitting out right now. We're in the dog days. We're in the March leading to the playoffs. This is the dog days of the season. Wob, over under 5 years that Seattle gets an NBA team. Well, isn't the rumor that they're going to be expanding potentially two teams, and they'll go to Las Vegas and Seattle? If they announce that, it's going to take at least 5 years. So my guess is between 7 and 10. I know nothing. I'm just guessing. Knowing that you are a diehard UNC fan, what do you think about Kobe White's potential is coming out of college? I thought he'd be way more impactful than he is right now. He was an instant bucket. He's been playing a lot better now that he's in the rotation. Very similar Cam Reddish vibes. With the Knicks, he just couldn't get run on this current Bulls team, but I mean, remember, at Carolina, he was a point guard, and he's more a combo guard now. He went to point guard U. That man was running every fast break. He's great in the open court. Now he's more of a spot-up three-point shooter, and to his credit, he's improved his game. Sky's the limit for Kobe. I would want him as my point guard in a heartbeat. Holy crap, Wobbert. I'm loving the upgrade on audio quality. Oh, you like that, huh? I got myself an El Gato. That other Yeti mic that I had was almost 10 years old. I'm sure I blew out the speakers. Can we talk about Coach K's ceremony after the Duke game? I'm more than happy to. The toxicity that was coming out of my mouth, the laughs that were coming out of my mouth, there's nothing. I'm pretty level-headed regarding everything for the most part, and I'm very apathetic, but there's one topic, like even politics and religion and things that really trigger a lot of people out there. Don't bother me, ever. There's one topic that I just can't, I am on the extreme end of the spectrum on, and it's Duke University. You just can never convince me to ever. I will go down. I almost feel like I'm supporting fascism the way that I'm just a religious Duke despiser on every level. And to watch them lose, they may end up playing Carolina in the ACC tournament. They can win by 1,000 points. They will never be able to remove the stain of the hilarity and embarrassment that they just suffered on Saturday night. That was the most delicious W I have ever seen. Coach K's final game getting knocked off by an unranked Carolina team. You always say how much you love Utah. You coming to SLC next year. You know what? As a matter of fact, yeah, I would love nothing more to go to SLC. It's a wonderful wonderful part of the country. Utah's gorgeous in many different ways. And I got people there I can visit, hopefully. Jason says, I was born on Chapel Hill's campus and was going to college somewhere else. Should I transfer back to where I was born? Of course, that place is fantasy. Did you see Franklin Street last night? Did I see Duke coach not shake Hubert's hand? And his excuse is even fucking worse. That Hubert didn't come over there and shake his hand before the game started. Fuck off. Who the fuck shakes hands before games like it's an expectation? You lost. Shake the fucking guy's hand, you loser. My best friend goes to Duke. I thought it was nice. Yeah, you would say the same about hell if everything else around the walls was flames, so... This place is not nice. Do you like Gothic? Do you like medieval castles? They do nothing for the state. They're a private school. They don't kick back to the state. They do nothing for the community. Fuck them. So someone is spoiling what happened in Spargo. Did Spargo play MK Leo in the grand finals, I assume? Wow, he did. He beat Leo on his way to the Summit title. Yeah, Spargo and Leo have had some battles. I can't believe he took the time to shut up the crowd to make sure they knew it was the players that lost the game and not him. This game is unacceptable. Quiet. How can you support this fucking guy? How can you love this guy? Tell me. And it's not even that he sounds like a fucking rat, but he's just the same Coach K. It's the same Coach K that I grew up with. Fuck Duke. Why do you hate Duke so much? How much time you got? How do you live in America and support what Duke represents? The university, not just the basketball team, just the university, the people that go there, they just bounce the moment that they leave. The worst kids, the worst people I know are all Dukies. And there's people that support Duke that didn't even go to Duke. I know that program, Stone. It's called it's not the Robertson Scholarship, is it? The one that goes back and forth to get degrees from both? Yeah, I mean, that's like 20 kids. Harden's rest day in Miami last night. Very shocking. Thoughts? I mean, they were only there for a day, probably. But yeah, he probably requested that one. Great opportunity to go out and hit the town. We got no mods in here tonight. No Ranger, no GG. We lost Jishnu. It's just us. I think 7-8's in here, isn't he? Is it just one mod? Wow, why are the Warriors resting their players tomorrow? Yeah, they're not only resting their players, they're not even sending them. They're just staying at home. Strange. Can you play the Pirtle on the stream? I don't know what that is. Am I a fan of the proposed mid-season tournament? I can't say that I am unless there's season implications to it. I just don't know if $1 million per player is enough motivation for them to care. Granted, I guess more basketball is good basketball, but I don't know. I was big on the play-in tournament from the start. That's great, but it's like Wordle for NBA players. Yeah, now there's a Wordle for everything. Wordle's too easy. I've never even been close to losing a Wordle. Has anyone in here does not have an 100% Wordle percentage? It's so easy every week. Do you want me to play it with you now? Yeah, it's after. Okay. Quordle, I would say yes. I have played that, but they use fake words. There's words that I've never heard of in the English language. It can't be words that ridiculous. I don't know why they don't stick to. I guess I'm being a hypocrite because I'm saying Wordle's too easy. Yeah, Quordle, the word like Denbar or some shit. I've never heard of this in my life. Multiple words. I hate fake words. Vivid was a hard one. Okay, should we play Wordle? Do you want to play it now with me? We got a new. Can you see? It's tonight's. Yeah, Debar or whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. You don't want me to play. All right. You don't want me to play Wordle. Yeah, I don't want to ruin it for you guys though. But I'm gonna play it right now. Because my strategy is flawless. Like, I type in the first two words the same every time. I already have 3 letters. I'm not gonna sit here and just play it, so. It's so easy. Wordle is bad streaming content. Very boring, I agree. There is no hard mode on Wordle. I guess Quordle is the hard mode. Well, thank you for changing the topic. Wob, what do you think happens if the Jazz have another collapse in the playoffs? What are they going to do about it? You're not blowing up that team. Donovan Mitchell's there. Gobert's there. And if you trade them, what are you getting back? That's your team, man. They're a second-round team right now. But the West is as weak as it's ever been, so catch them on a week. Oh, did you guys like the... did you guys see my little montage that I put together for Radio Roulette? On my Twitter timeline for the YouTube? New graphics. I almost want to put it in here. Should I? Here. Wait. Okay, here we go. Hold on, let me mute this real quick. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am tonight's entertainment. Julius Randle never has a chance of scoring on Anthony Davis. Pump fake, pump fake, pump fake, pump fake. What does the word government mean to Ben Simmons? Don't answer that question when Kyrie asks. I love the confidence. Spin, drop step. We should go with 1, 2, 3, Indianapolis. Pump fake, pump fake, pump fake, pump fake. That's commitment to the show. Huh? Come on. The show is evolving. Okay? We got things like sizzles and promotional collateral. See, it started off as just a button, and now we've got videos and shit, right? Right? Come on. I'm doing my part here. Trying to make this show more official, because I'm not lying to you, as I promised. It's always going to be community-based show first. We can always sit in a chat room and talk to each other, but it has to evolve so that if we want to grow this community into more than 250 people, concurrent for 3 straight hours, it's going to need to be dressed up a little bit. But I'm a one-man show. Ad. Will the new platform be announced on my Twitter? Yes. But this will not. This YouTube will be here regardless. So don't worry about not having this place to be familiar with. It's just the calls part of it's going to be on a different platform. What do the Jazz need to add to become the real deal? They need another star to score the basketball. 3-and-D guy, something. Like, who would they send to guard? Who would they send to defend Kevin Durant? I should ask that to every team, because if you're trying to win a championship, you need to be able to answer that question. Who on your team is going to guard Kevin Durant? And if your answer is Royce O'Neal, I love you, Royce, but I'm trying to be realistic here. Say something nice about Royce O'Neal. I think you'll do a very good job. I think you'll try your best. But if that's the answer, you're not going to win a championship. That's the thing, though. Doing these shows, I do everything as a one-man shop. I've always done it as a one-man shop. It's good for a couple of reasons. Creative freedom. You can kind of be your own boss in a lot of different ways. Not too many chefs in the kitchen in terms of getting things approved if you're working at a major legacy network. But the negatives to being a one-man pirate ship is you got to do everything yourself. You have limited resources because you only have 2 hands and 2 eyes, and there's only so much you can do without some help. You spend all this time making those graphics and stuff when you could be doing something else. So I do everything. I'm sorry. Underdog does assist me with some of the graphic stuff, but for the most part, putting these shows together, I got to do everything. And you think it's just as easy as snapping a finger and going live? Like, I got to prepare for these things. That's why I watch games all day. I would love to have graphics during the show and have a producer in here that's able to provide you guys with entertainment while we're sitting here just listening to people, Jokic of NBA personalities. I would agree with that. Hopefully that, not in terms of being an MVP, but unorthodox, unique, your own character. Whether you win or lose, people will remember you for being different. And that's, I guess that's always been the goal. Yeah, but if you're going to work for yourself, you're going to work more than you would for someone else. Some people like that. I like that. I told you, I'm a dog chasing cars. Isn't Clarkson the 3rd scorer for the Jazz? That's probably another problem, too. He's probably the 2nd scorer, ahead of Conley. Wing defense is the Jazz's problem. There just aren't enough of them around. This is true. Ingles going down didn't help. Bogdanovich is not known as being a defensive stalwart. Think PG is coming back after the Clippers tweeted out that video? I was assuming he was. How realistic is LeBron wanting a trade in the offseason on a scale of 1 to 10? I'd probably say 2 being the least likely, 10, and 1 being the least likely, 10 being the most. I'd probably go 2. Wob, do you think the basketball talk market is too oversaturated? Well, it is if you are someone that aggregates all the information. I particularly, I don't even know some people exist. I just find something I like and keep it within my circle, my little net, you know? I'm sure there's a lot out there to choose from, but it's going to be tough to monetize. Yeah, for sure. The teams that could use the 3-and-D players the most are the ones with the least amount of assets and money. Why? Because are those the teams that traded all their 3-and-D players to get a superstar, most likely? Yeah, that makes sense, because 3-and-D has become the trade chip in a lot of ways, right? People need 3-and-D players, whether you're a super team or not. Summer League this year. I plan on being at Summer League and playing in the World Series of Poker that week, yeah. Oh, listen, man, you can, if you want to create content around the NBA or basketball, do it. You just have to be willing to put in the work, and you have to have the mentality that someone is sleeping on their mom's couch somewhere that will work for half as much as you're making in doing the exact same. And the only way for them not to get that job is for you to outperform and outdeliver. So it's going to just, I've been sitting here talking to you guys, and I should be out at the bar right now, you know? But I've always been here. I've made a lot of sacrifices in my personal life to do what I'm passionate about. And while I do get a little burned out with the NBA, and there will probably be a time in the somewhat near future that I kind of just move on and throw the phone in the ocean, I'm still going 10 years later. But it's 24/7. It is 24/7. Well, someone said you ain't got to be at the bar every weekend. I like to be. I like to get out because I'm in here talking hoops all day. Who's my favorite poker player? Probably Tom Dwan is up there. Maria Ho's a close friend. I like Maria's game a lot. Boat Girl ignored those sacrifices. Well, you see, Boat Girl and the girls that I like to date hopefully know nothing about me and what I do for work. I don't want to talk sports with them. I like people I don't have much in common with. Opposites attract. Tibbs finally played the kids. You can do it. If your dream is to play in the World Series of Poker main event, go do it. If you don't have $10,000, play in some satellites. Hey, congrats. Derry said Daryl Morey retweeted my article today. Check out his latest retweet. Good job, Donovan Shea. That's how you get started. You write something, get some exposure. That's how it happens. Just be ready to go if your time ever comes. I have not played with Phil Ivey before. I'd certainly prefer not to, because I'm in the business of making money. I'm not in the business of giving money to Phil Ivey because he's better at poker than me. Champions League, second leg this week. Which teams? All I really care about is Ajax. That's my squad right now. That's who I bet on. 2-2, headed back home. I just hate the fact that I don't have the away goals rule anymore as an advantage. They got rid of that. So usually you just have to run around and get a draw, 0-0 or 1-1. Ajax would advance, but now they got rid of that, so it's going to go to extra time now. Got it, Donovan. Good work, Donovan. Enjoy your success, have your 15 minutes, and then wake up tomorrow and go do another one that gets Daryl or someone else that draws their attention. Advice on how to learn poker. Wow. Unfortunately, the answer is going to be experience, which means you're going to have to find a way to get involved in some cash games. Of course, you can read a book and you can watch videos, but you're going to need real-life experience playing. Thoughts on 2002 Range World Series Poker Final Tables? The Fossil Man, Greg Raymer, the weird sunglasses, and Sammy Farha. And so we'll put it on the map. Have I managed going strong all these years without saying or posting your birthday ever? What do you mean? Yeah, that's a good answer. Club WPT is a good place for starters. I don't know what Tom Dwan is. I assume he has enough money to not need loans, or is Tom Dwan broke? It would stun me if Tom Dwan was broke. He's been playing all these monies with backers. Maybe that would explain. Favorite NBA city? I mean, you gotta be a little bit more specific with that. Isn't New York the answer? I feel like Salt Lake will be up there once I finally go. Just been looking everywhere. My birthday is on 9/11. So you got 6 months, ZZ, to get ready. Top 5 arenas to watch basketball in. Dean Dome, Cameron Indoor. He didn't specify NBA. The Garden, obviously. Can't go to bars on Sunday night. Really? SLC? Is it closed because there's a citywide ordinance to close at this hour, or do they not serve alcohol on Sundays? Oracle. Yeah, Oracle was a good one. We're still on Coastal Carolina next year. I may have to, just out of principle, now that you asked. But did they get back? No, they lost Grayson McCall, didn't they? Damn, they should have made the playoff that one year. Best NBA group to never win a ship. 90s Knicks. They don't sell alcohol on Sundays when I was there. Makes sense. There's a lot of dry counties out there in the world, or in the United States. What is Mike Sweetney up to nowadays? Just my typical 3:24 a.m. thought. Is small ball dying? I hope so. Can you tell the story about the Gallinari ending song? It's just a song that I like. Just started playing it. I think it is about that time. 3:24 a.m. says, Nicholas says, for me, so I'm going to head to sleep. Had a ton of fun with y'all. I did as well. Why don't we hit the closing ceremonies here, shall we? Let you guys go to sleep and go to work tomorrow. Some of you got to wake up. I want to go watch I got some TV shows to catch up on. Oh, 60 Minutes is on time. I'm going to be up all night watching good TV with nothing to worry about. Do not worship any other player. Thou shalt get thy buckets. Remember the Sabbath oath. Keep it holy. Pay reparations to those who sacrifice. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Covet thy ball. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Honor thy veterans as I would honor thyself. Enforce the word of the code to non-practitioners, and thy ball shall never, ever lie. In the name of winning buckets and pettiness, may the peace of the code be with you always. Yeah, Yellowstone, 1883. 1883 was so good. Oh, so good. It's the spinoff. No good night yet. Also with you, also with all of you. You gotta stick around. Closing ceremonies. Say something nice about Royce O'Neal. I got no mods in here to keep the chat. We've got people dropping like flies. Look at this, dropping out of the chat. Down to 186 because they don't want to stick around for the closing ceremonies. It says Royce can guard KD. Royce O'Neal would guard Kevin Durant. The three of you all at once said Royce O'Neal would try really hard when he guards KD. Yeah, it wasn't 1883. So sad. So sad. I don't want to spoil it, I guess, but I want to talk about it. 1932 is supposedly the sequel, but I want 1883 continuation. Royce doesn't skip closing ceremonies. He never has. Royce O'Neal is one of those 3-and-D. He'd give it his best shot. Royce O'Neal isn't staying in LA for Draymond's birthday. Royce O'Neal wouldn't disconnect on spaces. Royce O'Neal taught PJ how to guard KD. Now we're getting somewhere. Thank you, Marcel. Royce loves the closing ceremonies. Yeah, see? Stat of the night. Anyone have a stat of the night? It was featuring Jishnu. I think he dropped it in the chat earlier, and he said this was the first time someone had dropped a 40, 12, 33 something performance in NBA history. But if someone's got a stat of the night, it might be too late for Hellwick too. But this is your time to shine. Isn't it? Royce O'Neal segment's awesome. So many Jazz fans. I don't know how I got so popular with Jazz fans. Maybe because I'm the one person who gives them attention. I mean, I talk about all the teams equally, I think. But yeah, I feel I'm pretty fair in my analysis of the Jazz. I like the Jazz. And I love the state of Utah. So, stat of the night. Stop throwing your burritos. LeBron 5th in 50-point games in NBA history. That's your stat of the night. Easily. Holiday and Middleton became the third pair of teammates to drop 16 plus each in fourth quarter of a game. How do you guys find these? First time someone was dropped, yeah, that was it. Bojan Bogdanovic made 11 threes tonight, the most in the NBA so far this season. Stat of the night from Jason. I think the Cavs had approximately 10 more turnovers than the Raptors, but still had more points off turnovers as overall. That's a good stat. KD hit 25,000 points tonight. That's another good stat. See, I knew you guys could do this. ESPN told me. It's okay. Let's move on, shall we? How about a World War II fact of the night? Tonight's lesson is going to be about Operation Eisenhammer. Operation Eisenhammer. It was a planned strategic bombing operation. And the reason why I want to talk about this one, I picked this one out in particular, is because of what's going on in the Ukraine with the... did I just say the Ukraine? In Ukraine, when they were firing on the nuclear power plant and how dangerous that is. Let's not soon forget, Operation Eisenhammer was a planned strategic bombing operation against power generators near Moscow in the Soviet Union, which was planned by Germany during World War II, but it was eventually abandoned. The plan of the operation was created in 1943. A bombing raid was to destroy 12 turbines in water and steam power plants near Moscow, as well as to attack certain substations, transmission lines, and factories. If the attack were to succeed in destroying just 2/3 of the turbines, it would have knocked out about 75% of the power used by the Soviet defense industry. Only 2 smaller energy centers behind the Urals and in the Soviet Far East would have been left intact. And at this time, the Soviet Union had no turbine manufacturing capabilities, and the only repair facility in Leningrad had been heavily damaged. To accomplish this goal, long-range bombers had to be employed, and to destroy water turbines, special floating mines called summer balloons were dropped into the water and then pulled by the current straight into the turbines. But it never happened. So, attacking power plants in what was the Soviet Union and the Ukraine today is not unprecedented. That is Operation Eisenhammer. Probably, I guess they should have done that in retrospect, but snooze, you lose. Just add it to the laundry list of things that he fucked up. Okay. Last word. Who wants it? Yeah, that's another. The HBO Lakers show's on too. I got a lot to catch up on. I've been watching this Showtime show about Uber. The Dropout on Hulu with Elizabeth Holmes is good too. Who wants the last word? Ah, thank you, Mike Bowden. He says it's called the Ukraine because of the meaning of the word Ukraine. Ukraine means frontier, border. It is historically the frontier. That's why it's the Ukraine. Thank you. You learn something new every day. See? I believe in you guys. It's awfully quiet here in the chat. Who wants the last word? Thank you, Mike Bowden. Last word. Wobb's allergy to vegetables is a huge turn-on for all women. That is an interesting last word, and I wish it was true. It would certainly help me out. All right, my friends. It's been a pleasure, as always, here on 101.9 Radio Roulette FM After Hours. Next time I see you guys, we're going to have a new show, I think. Or not a new show, but something a little bit different. Good seeing you guys. I'm glad we caught up. I'm sorry I couldn't do a show yesterday, but had to go out and celebrate Carolina. Hopefully you understand. Until next time. I am definitely getting something to eat, and I know exactly what I want, as always. Nagabago. See you guys on Thursday.
And look who's joining us. It's how you doing, Danilo?
I'm very good after this song. Very good.
That's